Hurmatli xonimlar va janoblar, barchangizdan o'z joylaringizni egallashingizni so'rab qolamiz. Dear ladies and gentlemen, we kindly request you to take your seats. Navbatdagi muhokama mavzusi tizimni o'zgartirish uchun kreativ sanoat sohalari. The next panel discussions topic is creative industries for system change. Let me introduce our speakers. Edna dos Santos Duisenberg, economist, co-founder and vice president for Global Partnerships, the World Creativity Organization. Ms. Luz Madela Mora, Director, Division on International Trade and Commodities, United Nations Trade and Development. Dimitar Ganchev, Deputy Director and Senior Manager, Copyright and Creative Industries Sector, World Intellectual Property Organization, and Sherzod Shermatov, Minister of Digital Innovation, Republic of Uzbekistan, and the moderator Ricky Pesik, Deputy Chair of the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce. Please welcome.
Tes. Okay, thank you. Welcome everyone to the this panel discussion with the topic of creative industries for system change. So it's a very difficult topics, I guess. And there we have four honorable panelists with us. Let me introduce you, but I will not read your background because it will take some time. So I just mention your name and the title. Then each of you can go with your presentations, if possible. 5 minutes, but probably maximum 6 to 7 minutes each. So we have time for Q&A with each other or with the audience later. First of all, on the very right side, we have Edna dos Santos Duisenberg. I hope I mentioned correctly. Yeah, she is the co-founder, vice president for Global Partnership and the World Creativity Organization, also as the founder, yeah. And then on the right next to me is Luz Madela Mora, the Director, Division on International Trade and Commodities from UN Trade and Development, or UNTAD. I think you're based in Geneva, right? Okay. And then the next speaker is Dimitar Ganchev, is Deputy Director and Senior Manager Copyrights and Creative Industry Sectors for World Intellectual Property Organization, or WIPO. And the last one, His Excellency, the Minister for Digital Innovation of Uzbekistan, Mr. Sherzod Shermatov, right? Okay, so this is a very interesting Digital Innovation Ministry with us. Okay, I think I give the first speakers for Edna, because you use your PowerPoint. Then we go to the minister, and then Dimitri and Edna, you're the last one. Thank you.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank the organizers for this invitation. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm particularly glad to be in this panel with a colleague that will be working on creative economy now for 20 years, my dear friend Dimitar from WIPO. And I'm also very happy to meet Luz, the new director of the trade division of UNCTAD. Indeed, I worked for 30 years in UNCTAD, and it was in UNCTAD, the trade division, that we started the program of a creative economy, that we launched the first reports on the creative economy, that we launched the first figures for global trade of a creative economy. So today, I'm here to see and to tell you how we are putting this into practice. And I would like to present, think in terms of new systems. So I want to present a new model that we are implementing in Brazil through the World Creativity Organization. And indeed, I am the co-founder of the World Creativity Organization. That is a private institution which mission is really to promote creativity involving local communities and addressing global challenges, but in particularly to empower creative people to be more active. And they are the ones that are really enhancing the creative economy. So we do this work. Indeed, we have been celebrating the World Creativity Day in Brazil since 2014. But when the UN had the resolution creating the United Nations Day for World Creativity and Innovation on the 21st April, we started giving more visibility to this festival. So in Brazil, we celebrate this festival for 3 days. And this became a really the largest global movement for promoting creativity as a tool to find solutions for global challenges. So here we are not only talking about creative industries, but we are talking in using creativity in all sectors: education, health, environment. It's really to engage in creativity. And this year in Brazil for the festival, we have the festival happening in 55 cities all over the countries. We involved more than 7,000 volunteers. These programs had an impact in more than 63,000 people all over the country. So it's very important to empower people to promote what they are doing with the creative economy. So the system has 3 pillars. One of the pillars is the Creative Leadership Program, in which we train creative leaders. And these leaders are the ones who organize the festivals in their respective cities. And then the method we use in this program blends creativity, entrepreneurship, and social transformation. And this has been proved very effective in promoting local creativity, not only in big cities and large capitals, but also in small villages. And we have seen the smaller the village, the greater the impact. The other pillar of this work is that we created the Brazil Creative Award. And then we try to stimulate creatives to send their projects and present their projects. And then this award, it's really recognizing the talent of Brazilian people and trying to promote what they are doing, finding partnerships. And this year, we celebrate already 10 years that we have this prize that recognizes creativity in 15 domains. So, to conclude, we really would like to give this idea to other cities, and if they want to see a little bit how this model is functioning in Brazil, we can contact us. But the point is that we think that as an intermediary between government and the creative sector, we can really play a bigger role and make things happen. So the World Creativity Organization can provide this leadership and this model. And then we just had a partnership, for instance, with Portugal that will use the same system, and will organize the World Creativity Festival in May next year. So this is what I can just quickly present what we are doing, and I hope that this will inspire other cities to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Edna, to explain and introduce about the World Creative Organization that you initiate. The next one, Mr. Minister, since you're the digital innovation minister, and we are discussing about creative economy, and probably you can explain to us what is the biggest challenge, how to accommodate innovations and creative people in this, especially how government facilitate them especially in this situation where every day in the creative industry worldwide there's always a new disruption that creating that always challenging a system, the established system everywhere. Please.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Uzbekistan. Since I'm the only representative of our country here, so I hope that this conference will be very useful for you to have a better idea about Uzbekistan and how we are trying to help our youth to be creative and to be successful in the future. If you look to the map of Uzbekistan, we are only double unlocked country in the world. I mean, the second one is Liechtenstein, but it's bordering with other rich European countries, so it's not a problem for them. But for us, in order to reach oceans, we have to pass at least 2 countries. And those countries are very safe countries like Afghanistan, Pakistan, or very small countries like Kazakhstan, Russia. So it's a challenge to make a physical exports of goods. But at the same time, Uzbekistan is a country which had the biggest growth of population since the breakup of Soviet Union. Plus 16 million people, whereas other big countries like Russia, Ukraine, etc., they had the decline of population even before the events of 2022. So what should be the way of finding the better paid jobs or good income opportunities for our youth? Only through the digital services, and you point out digital innovation. The official name is digital technologies development, but we can tell it digital innovation as well. So our aim is, instead of kind of letting our people going to find the good jobs somewhere else, we try to use digital technologies to bring those remote jobs to Uzbekistan. So this is one of the main missions which we are working on. And for the past several years, since 2017, we have started all this ambitious program of making Uzbekistan as a digital IT hub in the region. And first of all, we have created all the favorable environment for all the IT companies, so that if you have an IT company in Uzbekistan, you are not paying any tax virtually.
Whoa.
And your workers are also paying less taxes than in other industries. Why this was important? Because it was non-existent sector at that time. And now it became a sector with more than $1 billion of revenue. And almost more than one third of that is our export revenue. And we have set the goal to have annual exports of at least $5 billion by 2030. Of course, we have started with kind of easy things like business process outsourcing, like the call center industry. So you know that in the United States, they have lots of trucks, and they're managing those trucks from here. They're using the call centers. There's not much creativity there, but still this is a kind of remote jobs. Then we are also inviting many software engineering companies who are outsourcing from Uzbekistan, like EPAM Systems, one of the New York Stock Exchange listed companies who have office here. It hires very top talented engineers. It's more kind of engineering creativity over there. But then, of course, we are thinking about adding new and new type of companies to be the members of residents of IT Park. One of the interesting areas is the game development. There are many game development companies who are already successfully working in Uzbekistan and exporting their services to other countries. And this creates an opportunity for so many talented young creative youth to create new types of games, to create the new characters, so that it is moving forward towards the importance of creativity of our youth to be implemented in highly paid jobs using the export revenue coming from those companies. And even if you go to multimedia and design, there are many companies who are serving multimedia and design services to other, even I see one of these companies here is the United Soft Solutions. It creates multimedia products for movie industry in India. So they have very good, nice graphics to be used in Indian movies or cartoons. So, and another guy who used to work as my student. I was the rector of Inha University, the first Korean university here. And when I went to regions, we usually go to the regions most of the time. So it is not even the regional center. It is one city in Fergana Valley. It's Margilan city. One of my former students, he was doing actually the 3D printing job, and he was enjoying it. So he has his own channel, Engineerically, where he tries to showcase the different prints by 3D, and at the same time making the review of the 3D printers. So being from some of the regional cities, he is receiving almost every month the latest 3D printer by the company, free of charge. As well as for his review, he is making money from those companies, as well as getting money from YouTube for the monetization of his nice reels as well as movies. So biggest reels here, number of the views on these reels is, I think the biggest one, more than 32 million times was viewed. And the majority of viewers are in English-speaking countries because all of its content is in English, and the monetization comes from the English type of movies. So this creates a new opportunity for our youth. You see so many youth are sitting. More than 60% of our population are youth, and we are very happy to note that Uzbekistan is young and growing population, unlike the many countries in the world which are seeing the challenge of demographics now. But at the same time, we have to find good jobs for them. It's not easy to create local jobs due to this double and locked nature of the country. So this is a good message for our youth that if they learn foreign languages, if they learn modern technologies, and if they nurture their creativity, they can be successful irrespective of where they are living. I mean, outside of Uzbekistan, in capital city, or even the remote city of Uzbekistan.
Thank you, Minister. Seems like we have a similar problem, Uzbekistan and Indonesia. We have this, what they call demographic bonus, where more than 60% of the population is under 40. How to turn into a bonus rather than a disaster of demographic. It seems the solution is digital technology and innovation, right? And talking about what you're telling the story about how a lot of young people in Uzbekistan starting working for giver services and also selling outside. So I think there's also really very related how the intellectual property work. Now we come to the next panelist, Dimitri from WIPO. Please, you have 6 minutes to deliver your thought about system change.
Okay, well, thank you very much. It's very nice to share this panel with such distinguished colleagues working on the creative industries, either for many years as Edna or people who are going to see the future of the creative industries, and new colleagues in UNCTAD, so welcome to the family. Mr. Chairman, I see the title of this panel a little challenging, creative industries for system change. So I see here two questions, and I would like to divide my talk in two parts. First of all is creative industries and system change, as you say. And the second part is I'm going to speak about how does intellectual property feature in this? How does it support this system change, if there is one? So now turning to the system change, we all know and we've heard different evidence on how important the creative industries are in terms of the economy, how much they contribute to the economy, etc. But very often we don't know how much of the real growth in the country is coming from the creative sector. See, the creative sector grows with 5%, but the country grows with 3% of the GDP. So how much of this growth of the GDP actually comes from the creative sector? This is a figure that we need in order to understand to what extent the creative sector has been at the heart of the growth of the country. So I think we need to maybe look into a different type of metrics here, because that will answer the question whether they are actually at the heart of the change, or maybe the change is due to something else. There could be other factors, so we have to look into the causality here. So I would, on that note, I think that in terms of claiming that creative industries are always at the heart of system change, we need to prove it further. That is my first point. The second point is, of course, how intellectual property is relevant for this change. Here I will speak about in three dimensions. The first one is, of course, the policy dimension. You see, copyright framework, which is at the heart of the creative industries, is actually a framework which promotes the free circulation of ideas and thoughts. This is something, you can't have a creative economy if there is no openness in society, if there's no free circulation of ideas. And that kind of, freedom of speech, these democratic principles are enshrined in the concept of copyright. That is why it becomes relevant when we speak about the policy environment in which creativity can flourish. The second aspect is, of course, the economic aspect. Here we have, as I said, various kinds of proof that creative industries are important, and they are based on, of course, copyright protection and other forms of intellectual property protection. In that context, what is the role of intellectual property? The first most important role is that it provides you with the market framework. In order to operate on this creative market, you need to have some rules. What is allowed to do? What are the conditions of participating in the global exchanges? What is not allowed to do? What kind of sanctions? What kind of remunerations are there? So you need to have a good legal framework, and this is what intellectual property does. It gives you the framework for the operation of the market. Here are the rules of the game. That is the first function. But then it also has another important function, that actually it helps the creators, as we say, to monetize their creativity. It's a mechanism through which you can bring your product to the market. Because that is, without this mechanism, it would have been a very different market. Without copyright protection, industries like the gaming industry, like software, like music, publishing, they would not exist, or they would be considerably smaller if there was no protection. So clearly that is a very important aspect, that they help the marketing of the product and the monetization of the creativity. And then the third aspect, which I believe is very important, is that you see, intellectual property, this is intangible property. And now, as His Excellency the Minister said, we live in a digital world. There are less and less tangible goods. And in order for these intangible goods to travel across countries, because everything is global now, you need something which is intangible. And here we talk about intellectual property, which from the very beginning is an intangible asset. So you have this tool which is perfectly fit for the digital environment, and it helps actually the goods and services to travel over boundaries. And the third aspect, of course, along with the policy and the economic, is the cultural and social aspect. So you see, when you have some kind of protection, which intellectual property provides, because there is a market failure, clearly, if there was no mechanism which would be an incentive for creators to create, there would be much less cultural and creative content on the market. So by having this kind of guarantee that you will be remunerated for your efforts, we are encouraging the creation and distribution and consumption of much more cultural and creative products. So you contribute to that diversity of content on the market, which is so important to have. So in a nutshell, Mr. Moderator, I think these were the main points I wanted to mention in this introductory statement, and I look forward to your interesting questions.
Thank you, Mr. So yeah, I think like what your emphasis is, I think it's very important that everyone that involved in the creative economy industry understood that that's the definition of creative economy come from the value added that created from the intellectual property actually. That's what Indonesia did and put as a definition of creative economy in our creative economy law that released in 2019. So I think that's become very important for intellectual property. But probably the question is, what kind of new market ecosystem or intellectual property ecosystem that can become equal for everyone, every player in the world now? I think that's probably because like what previously in the ministerial meeting, Deputy Greenspan mentioned about this, the trade of global economy now is bigger south to south rather than north to north. That's quite amazing, you know. So there's a big change in global economic landscape, and that's where actually how we can put the intellectual property become also the foundation for our creative stakeholders to expand more, especially in the south country. So next to Lusma, call Lusma, right? Okay, from UNTAD. So since you can I start with the question for you? There's the two important question that I would like to trigger to your presentation. The first one is, could you share some examples or insights from UNTAD's work illustrating how creative industry have successfully contributed to the sustainable development? So, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Ricky. It's a great honor and a privilege for me to be here in this panel of very distinguished experts. I want to thank Minister Shermatov for your country hosting this fantastic event. For me, it's a discovery to be here in Uzbekistan, coming from Mexico via Geneva, to be here and discover the great wealth of culture and art. So thank you and congratulations on a great work. It's also a great privilege for me to be here with Edna dos Santos Duisenberg. We are responsible in the Division of International Trade to move forward the program on creative economy. So I can assure you, Edna, that you created a fantastic program that is here only to attest to your vision and also to let you know that we are taking very good care of it and we're making sure that it will grow and benefit as many people as possible. So thank you. And well, what a great honor to have sharing this panel with Dimitar, our neighbor, right next door to UNCTAD. I think that the question of sustainable development is central to the well-being of people. And it's also central to the work that international organizations and governments, as well as societies, have to do with respect to how we can accomplish better standards of living and how we can accomplish a sustainable world, taking care of the environment and making sure that we have an inclusive economy. And the creative economy is really one that touches on many of the development goals that we have. And let me share a few of them. For example, number one, SDG number one, reducing poverty. We have already seen that there are countries that are doing tremendous progress thanks to the creative economy. SDG number 5, gender equality. The creative economy is an inclusive sector that creates opportunities for young people and women innovators. SDG number 8, with respect to decent work. Number 10, with respect to reducing inequalities. SDG number 9, innovation. 11, sustainable cities and communities. 12, with respect to responsible consumption and production. And I'm just going to stop here, but these are only a few of the Sustainable Development Goals. And I would like to focus, this morning our Secretary General, she talked about the aspect of labor, workforce, and job markets. I would like to focus my remarks here on sustainability and how the creative economy can help accomplish our environmental goals, our goal of reducing carbon emissions, and also our goal of having a more circular economy with a better use of our resources. And for example, let me share a little bit with you how the research that we have done at UNCTAD. We are going to present tomorrow the Creative Economy Outlook, and I want to invite everyone that is here to be with us tomorrow. But that we really touch on the impact, because the creative economy operates in such a way that it really reduces the need to use fuels. It reduces the carbon emissions that we are emitting out of this activity. And it also is being supported by new forms of energy. The environmental sustainability goes across sustainable design, the use of innovative materials, local materials that are being used to innovate products, but also services. And also, we are creating greener supply chains, which is not minor. We are shortening the distance between the consumer and the producer, and that is helping to reduce the environmental degradation and decarbonization. Another very important area in which the circular economy is helping is by looking at the production and consumption patterns. We see that the creative economy is one that is using the circular economy model. We see the reuse, remanufacture, recycle, and recovering of products, and that allows to reduce waste and emissions, and also to make sure that people, with their innovations, their design, the technology that they're using, are really making a better use of resources, and consumers are also better informed and are also encouraging the consumption of these types of products. And let me offer you 4 examples very briefly to just exemplify what we're saying. For example, architects, they are really adopting climate conscious designs in their construction of buildings. We are seeing buildings that are sustainable, for example, these technologies that are coming from Africa, or also we see this in China, Brazil, and India. We also see the use of inputs, for example, that the materials that artisans and craftsmen are using use less toxic chemicals. In the film industry, we're also seeing a conscious about environmental sustainability. Let me offer you an example. The film Amazing Spider-Man 2 was able to save almost 200,000 disposable plastic water. And musicians are also into the environmental sustainability. So this is just one example of how the creative economy is supporting sustainable development.
Thank you, Lusma. So I will go for the second question on the Q&A later, but probably after presentation, we have another follow-up question because that Dimitri was emphasis about how important the measurement is for the creative industry, but rarely we have the standard of measurement. So I would like to ask Edna, it is some experience from the World Creativity Organization, how the measurement, because when we're talking about creative economy, rarely we have facing less problem with the creativity to push young people with the creativity. But we have a huge problem when it comes to economy. So how we can measure and then develop a better policy in the future in order it's become a strong sector for each country or for the region or for global. Because I think in 2015 there's one organization measure that creative economy globally, the size contribution on the economy is bigger than oil export of all OPEC members, bigger than military expenditure globally. So, but in the economy policy, creative economy is, there's not on the surface. It's not. So, can you share about your experience and also with Minister Excellency? Also, I think the same question. Probably Dimitri also can respond, and I go with you, Lusma, later on.
You see, last 2 weeks ago, we were celebrating Brazil, 20 years that the UN received the very first mandate to insert the creative economy into the international development agenda. So it's 20 years. So we will still have much more questions than answers. We are still exploring. We have been sensitizing government to the importance of the creative economy as a development strategy. So we are not only thinking in terms of course, is a sector that generates jobs, generate export earnings from trade, revenue for selling the products, for IP, but at the same time, it promotes social inclusion. So there is where it attracts the youth. It promotes cultural diversity because we can have a number of products coming from different regions, and every single product is different. So this is the difference, that a creative product, being it a good or a service, is not a commodity. So there is a space to sell this product. So in this sense, I think you have another dimension that is much more than the economic dimension. Is the social dimension, is the environment dimension. It's true that there are sectors that we have problems, for instance, with fashion, in terms of impact on environment. And there are other sectors that we can really conciliate the creative economy with this transition towards the green economy. But for instance, based on the experience we are having in Brazil, that is very inspiring, is just the fact that if you recognize that creative people, that their work are really an economic activity that has a strong impact in not only in terms of the cities that they are, but also in terms of well-being, because when we are promoting the creativity, when we are promoting creative economy, we are also promoting education. For instance, our program is based on a training program in which we bring together creativity, entrepreneurship, because we consider that through creativity, we can really impact on innovation. And with impact with innovation, we can promote social change and promote prosperity. So it's a lot of implications that is not so easy to measure.
Yes.
But I think the creative economy, it really gives a great contribution. And of course, when we talk about creative economy, what is important to think is that we are thinking in terms of the importance of a contribution of all the ministries, no? Because we need digital infrastructure. Because if you don't have good internet, it's not easy to be creative today, because digital is enabling, and also to be more creative, we need it. So that is why we have been repeating that we need appropriated public policies in place to let the creative economy flourish. But what I try to show today is the role of intermediaries, because when you work with the civil society, when you engage creative communities, they are the ones that will be moving ahead, making things happen, and will be accelerating local development. And this is, we are so happy to see in very small villages in Brazil. So, because sometimes it's not easy for governments to have policies at a federal level, at a national level. But if each of us give our contribution, it really makes things happen.
Okay, thank you, Edna. I think, Mr. you can.
Yeah, definitely.
And also, as to get all together with your closing statement, because we have a very limited time, so probably.
Yeah, measurement is a very important part of it. And, in GDP measurement, we already have the measurement by value added. So each sector, how much value added to the growth of the overall GDP. In official statistics, but it's only by sectors. It doesn't cover whole creative industry, but more on ICT sector. We see that for the past several years, growth of ICT sector in Uzbekistan had the highest rate in terms of value added to the overall growth of economy. We had the highest. It's not the biggest in terms of the share, but in terms of the rate of growth, it's the highest. Why? Because from the value-added perspective, the services has very high value-added component in it. For instance, if you want to produce this mic in Uzbekistan, you have to import at least more than 80% of the components. So the value-added would be very limited part, which is a kind of manufacturing or assembling task. Whereas if you have a software development, or if you design something, if you have a multimedia services produced, you don't import anything. You just create, fully value-added locally. And second measurement would be, from our perspective, is employment. If you see the number of people employed in 2016 in all the sectors, and you compare with all the sectors here, we see the highest growth in employment in the ICT sector. Because so many young people are trying their future career in IT-related areas. And so this is the second type of measurement. But at the same time, creative industry is huge. There are so many other areas. Like, you see so many musical instruments over there. So one of the growing businesses we have is the wedding business. So every young people here, they want to have a good wedding party. So many, musical instruments are used, so many kind of creative people are invited, etc. But it's very difficult to measure it because most of that is not on a measurable area or some other areas as well. So it depends. So maybe in terms of course, share is rate of growth is very high. But still, you are right that when it comes to taxation, still government relies on traditional areas, like, for instance, natural resources. In almost all the countries, they think about taxing the natural resource countries because there's a higher rent over there. And even the telecommunications is a kind of more traditional area where you can heavily tax it, and so that you support other social sectors as well. So it depends from the value added and the growth point of view, as well as from the taxation from the government revenue side. It might be a different perspective. And over the time, I hope that this will, the growth will lead to the fact that more and more revenue for the government will be generated from the creative industries as well.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. So the future of Uzbekistan relies on ICT, young people, and creative industry. Right? Okay. Dimitri, next to you.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. You asked the question how to measure the creative economy. I think the right question is what to measure. And that's what the speakers so far have also mentioned. In fact, as you rightly pointed out, we do not have exactly the same definitions of the creative economy, creative industries, which means that these things probably are not fully comparable across countries, but that's okay. It's important, and within the country you use the same framework so you can measure the trends and monitor what's happening. But I think that we are moving now definitely towards a second generation of metrics. In the beginning, we were all interested in, GDP, employment, foreign trade. We all knew these measures. However, in my experience in the last 20 years, I've seen countries also looking for new indicators, such as multipliers, as your Secretary General mentioned, contribution to real GDP growth, labor productivity, you name it, many other indicators. However, on top of that, I think we have also come to realize, as Edna mentioned, that we in WIPO, but also UNESCO and other organizations have been focusing the attention on the much broader impact and importance of the creative economy. And in that sense, we are also developing a new model for data collection and analysis of the creative industries, which will resemble very much an index. And this is what you do when you have so many unquantifiable elements in the creative economy. And we have a matrix with more than 100 positions. There are very different indicators here. So we definitely are moving towards a new stage where we can really assess the potential of the creative economy. It's not just the status, but what is the potential that we have not been able to tap on so far. I think this is where we need to look into in the future. And as a final word, because you warned us that we have no more time, I just want to say that I like very much the approach of the minister that, yes, we need to turn to the young people, we need to give them ideas about the opportunities, and we need to train them. We need to share the knowledge that we have. On intellectual property in our case, there are so many creators that are absolutely not aware what they have. They have assets which they can use. One song can generate so many different types of income. It goes into a game, it goes into a movie, it goes into a television show, and these are all income streams generated from the same product. We need to capture that, but we need to teach, and that is a big responsibility for all of us, young people and creators on how to manage their assets. So we have plenty of programs. I'll be happy to share with you some of them, which can be made available to the not only the young people, all the creators in Uzbekistan, so that they can take further the creative economy of this great country. And thank you very much for your hospitality.
Thank you. Can I have one more minute in order to give Luzma her closing statement? No, sorry,
I will be extremely
I cannot give more
brief.
time.
No, I understand. I just want to share with you and your audience. At UNCTAD, we have been able to develop an important database. It's in UNCTAD Stat, where we have information on trade in creative goods for 160 countries and trading services for 120 countries. So that is already some very concrete information that gives us some idea of where is the trade. We are working also on developing indicators, as Dimitri has already mentioned. We're working with the other UN family, and this information is helping us to carry out research, analysis, and recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Luzma. Sorry, we don't have more time for Q&A from the audience. We are really sorry for that, and thank you. And probably for the closing statement from four speakers. Actually, from the title itself, the system change actually now is the most sustainable things for the creative industries. Now, they keep changing the system. Okay, thank you very much, all the honorable speakers, and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Miss Edna dos Santos Duisenberg, Miss Luzma de la Mora, Mr. Dimitri Ganchev, Mr. Sherzod Shermatov, Mr. Ricky Pesek, our esteemed speakers, thank you for being with us and your extended replies. Aziz tinglovchilar, hurmatli speakerlarimizga olqishlar bilan minnatdorchilik bildirsak. Rahmat. Hurmatli konferensiya qatnashchilari, hurmatli tinglovchilar, biz esa barchangizni keyingi muhokamalarga taklif qilib qolamiz. Keyingi muhokama mavzusi hikoyanavislik san'ati. Dear ladies and gentlemen, we invite you to the next panel discussion, and the topic is the art of storytelling. Choreographer, Theo Young, product designer and founder of Theo Young Studio, Shirin Brockner, founder Atelier Brockner, Jesurbek Rozmat, CEO Digital Garden Illustration Studio, and the moderator is Alexandra Seaman, co-founder of Restate Foundation. Please welcome. Mr. Stefano Poda, we're waiting for you. Please come to the stage. Mr. Stefano Poda, we are waiting for you. Please come to the stage.
We're just trying to find Stefano. Okay. Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And today I have the privilege to moderate a very interesting session, a very interesting panel discussion titled The Art of Storytelling. Storytelling is something that personally fascinates me a lot because stories are truly everywhere. The history of humanity is a collection of stories we tell ourselves, and different cultures have their own unique narratives. And to be more even precise, they have unique perspectives on how to share those stories. We used to tell stories around the fire, and we still tell bedtime tales to our children, because storytelling has been woven into the fabric of our lives from the very, very beginning. But why do we love stories that much? I believe because stories are memories that stay with us. Today we're fortunate to have a very diverse panel of individuals who tell stories in very different and compelling ways. Let me introduce our panelists. Today we have Shirin Bruckner, founder of the Atelier Bruckner. Shirin has been instrumental in developing scenographies based on her principle of form follows content. Today we also have Theo Yang, the founder of Theo Yang Studio, which specializes in high-end residential and branding projects that merge modern and traditional elements. His designs, known for their elegant blend of high art and personal treasures, create timeless moments of beauty in every space he crafts. And we're also honored to have Jasperbek Rusmed, CEO at Digital Garden Studio, a creative agency responsible for producing thousands of illustrations, books, and digital content globally. With a background in international business and marketing, Jasperbek has built a global reputation for excellence in digital art services. So my question to you, Shirin. Storytelling is really important when it comes to museum exhibitions. So how does one design objects to tell stories?
Yeah.
And what are some of the challenges of making historical artifacts engaging for contemporary audiences, especially when we're talking about young audiences?
Yeah, thank you very much, Alexandra. I think we are a very diverse podium here. I'm Shirin Brückner from Atelier Brückner. We are based in Stuttgart in Germany, where we are doing museum and exhibition design, working worldwide with 130 team members, interdisciplinary and intercultural. Basically, as we are diverse, I think we discussed, I would somehow focus on storytelling by objects, historical objects. Theo will do it with branding and probably you by media telling. Let me see how this works. And basically what I have several statements to do. One of them is objects and context. So storytelling by displaying objects in an environmental setting to give a context on the history, on the story behind. What you can see here is the exhibition Arabian Journeys in Saudi Arabia. And basically this is really a journey to the stunning landscapes of Saudi Arabia, and visitors really can experience the immersive environments of the inaccessible natural landscapes of Saudi Arabia, like for example the day and night cycle in the desert, which gets alive in the evening. And this is a narration around objects, in this case taxidermy animals, and it's facilitating through immersive environments. The objects are set in a context, and it's enabling a presentation that really touches visitors. Next is the idea of arrangement and objects. We have here the State Museum in Zurich, archaeological exhibition, and we have usually possibilities of storytelling by creating a dramaturgy dramaturgy of highlight object presentation versus display mass display presentation. Here, for example, we have a really erratic highlight object presentation under a map, artistic map of Switzerland with single individual showcases, and visitors can understand the uniqueness and place of discovery, versus we have large-scale mass arrangements, objects with micro-scenography here, and it creates somehow to make visitors understand on the first view what is the individual showcase about, and visitors can interact deeply with the content itself. Next statement is how can we immerse people by object arrangements? How can we create spaces only by objects? What we have here is an example of the Museum of the Future in Dubai. And we somehow create an overwhelming spatial scenography only by arrangement of individual objects. This is the Vault of Life. It's an infinitive number of laser-graved glass cubes with specimen, and where visitors are captured by this really impressive spatial image, but also can interact directly with each single individual object and understand how these specimens are resilient for survival in the future with all ecological and cultural challenges we are facing. And of course, object and narration. This is the State Museum of Archaeology in Chemnitz in Germany. And the interesting thing is about the storytelling behind object concentration versus a narrative-driven media presentation. Here you can see an impressive panorama of everyday life objects, and this visitor can understand that the archaeological findings are usually fragments of ceramics, metal, wooden objects, or other tools, which are testimonials from our ancestors, versus a highlight media exhibit, a 3D map of the state Saxonia, which is moving in a void of 3 levels height and is telling stories from early ages of mankind to cultural evolution. Like you can see here, the ceiling patterns of churches, and this is linking objects to historical and cultural context. Both are really impressive narrative installations. And what happens if we do not have any objects, if the archaeological site is already the object itself? Here's for example, here the Ephesus Experience Museum. And when the archaeological site is the object itself, and the stories should be explained behind that, the cultural background, the historical background, narration can be done by fully immersive and digital experience where visitors can meet the protagonists from former times and understand about their lives, their history, and about the site itself. Finally, brings me to a project which we are doing here for Uzbekistan in Expo 2005 in Osaka. This is architecture becomes the object. Architecture is fully developed from content. I think this is a narrative architecture, and it's formed by the really rich resources of Uzbekistan, the soil as foundation representing the heritage, the landscape as basis for evolution and artistic evolution, and an artistic wooden roof structure. Everything from sustainable material and prepared for subsequent use. So basically, making objects talk. This is something which is should be a touching and emotional experience to somehow convey messages to visitors and to make them emotionally engaged. Thank you very much. This is about objects.
Thank you, Shirin. Very impressive. And honestly, I have another question to you about light, because I've been to some places you've just shared,
Okay.
but that's going to be my next question. Now I want to ask Theo, your medium is a completely different one. So my question to you is, what are some of the ways in which you tell stories in Korea and globally, and how you can tell story through a fragments?
Hello, my name is Teo Yang. I think I could explain the question through the series of work that I do. And I prepared some slides, so yes. So good afternoon, my name is Teo Yang. I am the founder of Teo Yang Studio based in Seoul, Korea. There are many different design studios in Seoul, but what makes us different is that we work with the meaningful mission, which is rediscovering and modernizing Korean tradition and local values. By extensive research on the old world, we try to give new and contemporary meaning to tradition and transform them to a product that would have a connection and a relevance to the modern society. People talk about sustainability, but we're questioning ourselves about cultural sustainability. How can we sustain and preserve what we already have? So the left image is from 1924 and the right image is from 2024. Korea has achieved a tremendous change and development, but we need to recognize that during the fast speed of transition, traditional heritage can also fade rapidly. We need to look at heritage and its story as a great resource and utilize to draw profits for modern society and use as a roadmap to guide ourselves to a better future. So under this mission, we work in many different fields, designing national museums, curating exhibitions. We also work with the city of Seoul to create very fun events. I personally operate a skincare brand. And I also create a scent using Google's AI. So we're creating a scent for the Google headquarters. And I also manage a furniture brand which is located in 4 different countries. And I also publish books on Korean culture. So there is a lot to handle, but everything comes under to the one mission of exploring and modernizing our heritage. So we take our work very seriously. I would like to briefly show you our studio before I share some of my projects. I work in a traditional wooden house with a pine tree courtyard, which was built in 1917 during the last era of our dynasty. I find peace in the old architecture and can step aside from the fast speed of the city. I feel truly lucky to reside in this historical property since 93% of the original traditional homes were destroyed during the modernization. This house has been a great source of inspiration and a great place to learn what has been forgotten throughout time. And it also proves to me that combining different times and culture and create something which can really create something truly unique and beautiful. I also want to quickly share some projects of mine, since I'm be talking about branding as well. First is a skincare brand that I have launched 5 years ago in order to promote and archive the beautiful narrative of traditional Korean medicine. I was really fascinated by the wisdom of the past and how we have earned support of the nature to cure and heal us by creating a beautiful bond between nature and humans. To me, it really seems like there is an answer to sustainability and balance of life in the old wisdom. Traditional medicine was more than just an archive of medical knowledge, but full of beautiful narratives and philosophies that I want to share with our modern society. We now work with luxury hospitality brands such as the Four Seasons Hotel and Plaza Hotel to create a unique skincare program. And in 2019, we have earned the Design Award by the Wallpaper magazine. And we also have support from the K-pop industry. Psy from Gangnam Style and BTS is also one of our very famous clients. Second is how we collaborate with other brands. We combine narratives of the brand and memories of the site and create a new dialogue. We have been collaborating with Blue Bottle Coffee on many of their sites. We not only design for them, but we help them to choose the right location and even the size of the retailer to tell the right narrative and stories to the customers. For this project, we suggested Blue Bottle Coffee to open a traditional housing and communicate with the customers on how much they value and respect the local market, and also share how carefully they craft their products. We also suggested that they not waste their coffee grinds, but develop products such as hand scrubs and hand creams by using the disposable, helping them to develop new products and contribute to sustainability. And third is an ongoing project that we are working with the Chanel Cultural Foundation and also with Hyundai Motors Group. Chanel Cultural Foundation has been supporting the Korean craft and the artisans to preserve and archive and their skill sets. But the really great thing about this project is that they're not only archiving, but giving these old artisans a chance to transform their old world craft into modern day products. Sometimes keeping the traditions can make itself disappear because it does lose the relevance with the modern day people. We are in charge of selecting the craftsmen annually and guide the artisans to go beyond their skill sets and really create something meaningful to the contemporary world. So I believe that environment in which a single species has which has dominated is considered really unhealthy. I think it's the same goes for the world of design. I believe that creating design and business based on each country's local culture and tradition will definitely contribute in more diversity and creativity.
Though you're really a Renaissance man. Very impressive, very impressive. And I hope next time I'm in South Korea, I'm going to visit your studio and find my piece there as well. I have next question to Stefano, because I know that you have to leave soon. So Stefano, you are there. Let me first introduce you, by the way, because we didn't have a chance to do that before. So Stefano is renowned for his unique and visionary approach to opera, where he seamlessly integrates direction, choreography, sets, costumes, and lighting. His work transcends traditional storytelling, blending various art forms like architecture, painting, and music to create a holistic and immersive experience of total art. Stefano, the question to you: how can spaces, sets, and costumes in the performing arts enhance storytelling? And what happens at the intersection of visual design and narrative in opera?
Hello. Hello. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. I'm so sorry because now in 10 minutes I must start the preparation of this big project here at the Bolshoi Theater for Tamerlan. This is the second and last performer, and I'm so happy about this big project here in Uzbekistan. This is the reason of my presence. Anyway, you're asking something me that is the center of my research. In my opinion, in my dimension, today we live sick time. Sick for realistic, for the realismus. So for me, the theater is the last opportunity for go out of the reality and recover the identity of you. So from the starting of my career, I tried to put together all the art, and my goal is the total art. So very important for me is that all the disciplines, all the arts are speaking, talking together. And this must be for the audience an experience, a journey. Today, too much movie, too much film, too much technology, too much information. So for me, it's very important, in my opinion, that the theater can give you the opportunity to live something absolutely different, like the church. Something in spiritual dimension.
Does that mean that we have to worship you in that church?
This, from the starting of my career, I did all together. I never separated the direction from the design, from the philosophy, from the secret of the man is his humanism. And for be humanist, you must feel the secret line between the hearts. This, I think, is the most important in all arts.
Thank you, Stefano. And as I had the opportunity to talk to several speakers and guests of the conference, and they shared how impressive was opera yesterday. And luckily, we have a chance to go and visit it today. Thank you very much.
Thank you to you, and sorry for my
all
little
good,
time.
absolutely. Thank you for being with us. Good luck. Just back. Now we have a question to you about your work, because your work is an intersection of creativity and technology, leading two dynamic organizations focused on illustrations and IT. So how does one turn ideas into stunning illustrations and digital strategies? What's your experience on that?
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. So, as I've studied in the United States, I was studying there and I was learning how this IT work and everything, and how they outsourcing the IT works all over the world. And I gave a question to myself that why Uzbekistan cannot export the IT, right, services. And the first idea was, of course, providing good services with a great quality. And the main field which came to my mind, it was illustrations. Because as the father of three daughters, like, wherever you go in the United States, like it can be Target store, it can be Safeway, or wherever everywhere you can see the children's book, right? And on their own language, which is English. And on that time, like it's 6-7 years ago, in Uzbekistan, we didn't have like a lot of books with the great illustrations. And when I came back to Uzbekistan, like I was so like excited to create an illustration studio, which will provide illustrations not only in Uzbekistan but globally. And I started working with a company which exports like IT services. Then I created the studio. And I on that time, I believe it's so hard that storytelling is very important, especially when you talk about the children's, right? And when we work with the authors and publishing houses, we try to illustrate their books, and which is storytelling to the children. And we try to explain the life, emotions, and everything to the children through the illustrations. And on the other hand, it's a good IT service to provide all over the global. And in our studio, we work closely with the authors, publishers to bring these stories to life through the illustrations. Pictures have unique power. They help children imagine and understand the world even before they can fully read the book. And our focus is on creating illustrations that are not only beautiful, but also it should be meaningful and helping children connect with the stories in a deeper way and understand the life with a better way. And today, the world needs new stories because everything is going like diverse and diverse. And all of us try to help children to understand themselves, no matter who they are, no matter what is their background. And that was the main drive, that was the main reason to create an illustration studio and focus on the children book illustrations. And as I told you, on the other hand, it's a good IT service to provide it globally. Now we've illustrated more than 3,000 books all over the world, and we have customers from the United States, Algeria, Sweden, Germany, Finland, and a lot of countries. And we work closely with the 30 publishing houses and more than like 200 authors. And we are creating books here in Uzbekistan with our like ancient scholars about Mirza Ulugbek and other scholars who has a like really big role in our history. And we're trying to storytell the children and help them understand the history and the modern life through the illustrations. And I'm happy that we created this studio. Nowadays in Uzbekistan, we have every opportunity to sell these services, to sell these illustrations as IT services. And you know, it's very impressive to stay between the art and IT services. That's it.
Thank you. Shri, my next question is to you about your work with light. Because I remember when I was in Museum of Future in Dubai, and there was the room with these little boxes everywhere, and it was such an immersive experience, such a strong immersive experience. And I was thinking, wow, that's almost like, you know, James Turrell. So how you would define your work with light? Because it's a very, very important medium.
So basically, we usually try to find the right design method deriving from content. Our philosophy is form follows content, and we use all design disciplines which are available. We use the space, we use media, we use graphics, and we also use light. Yeah. And in the Museum of the Future, the World of Life, I think it's a combination. We have beautiful small objects which come alive through light, yeah. And light is, of course, always something which is setting the object in scene, which can create emotions and can somehow bring complete different mood in a space. And I think for that, light is really important, but as important as the other design disciplines are also. Yeah.
Thank you. And for you, I have a question regarding integration of these big brands, because you gave an example of Blue Bottle, and Blue Bottle is a very strong brand, but its identity, it's very neutral, it's very minimalistic. So to integrate a strong brand like that into a local culture, that requires really interesting skills. So can you please share your principles? How would you do that next time?
I think it's very important for big brands to show respect to the local market. I think that's one of the easiest ways for the big brands to connect with the local customers. So whenever we're choosing the site for the big brands, we are very specific on where they show their presence and how they acquire this property and how they select architects or designers and how they deliver their products. So we come in as a brand project manager on each step, making sure that they deliver the right narrative, and they not only tell the narrative, but they create a dialogue between them and the customers, and also with the country that they're trying to approach. It's also not just Blue Bottle, but as for the Chanel Foundation, they're also trying the same effort to show their appreciation towards our culture in order to make more profit and do a better business.
Very interesting and smart. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Just Rebecca, for you, I have a question that I really would love you to respond from a perspective of you as a father of 3 kids, because you work a lot with illustrations for children. So how do you think, what are those new stories that world needs a lot?
New stories which we have to tell to the next generation through our illustrations, and our main focus to explain them, it's understanding their selves, respecting their selves, and act how they are, no matter their background, no matter where they live, and no matter where they came from. This is the most important thing, especially nowadays, which we have to explain to the children. And we're trying to, the books which we illustrating, like every single book, like we trying to illustrate with the love, with the full of heart, to explain the children, like that they have to, how to say, understand the emotions and the life with a better way.
Yeah, it's interesting because we always ask kids who you would like to become, but we never ask them who you are. So that resonates a lot. Thank you for saying this. Okay, I think we have another minute for Q&A session. So do we have any questions from the audience? No, I think we're good now. So thank you so much. That was really, really inspiring, and it brought me to the point where I was thinking, well, each of us are a storyteller, and we have to make sure that the stories we share with people and with the world around us are truly inspiring. And there are so many different ways how we can deliver those stories. So yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Alexandra.
Mr. Teo Young, Ms. Shirin Brockner, Mr. Jasurbek Rozmat, and Ms. Alexandra Seaman, thank you for sharing your experience and incredible ideas. Tajriba va fikrlaringiz bilan bo'lishganingiz uchun rahmat. Hurmatli xonimlar va janoblar, navbatdagi muhokamalarga beramiz. Muhokama mavzusi mahalliy hunarmandchilikni jahon bilan hamnafas qayta tiklash. Dear ladies and gentlemen, we invite you to the next panel discussion named Reviving Local Craftsmanship in Sync with the World. Let me introduce our speakers. Nadia Samdani, co-founder, Samdani Art Foundation. Nada Dabs, designer. Maiwan Jabarkil, CEO, Fatima bint Mohammed bin Zayed Initiative, and Alisher Rahimov, artisan. And please welcome the moderator, Iko Yokoyama, lead curator, design and architecture M+. Please welcome.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, her plan is to because I saw she's still in New York. She's in New York, no? Should I just start? Okay, great. Let's begin. Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and then the guests. Thank you for Uzbekistan Art and Culture Development Foundation, and also with, of course, WCCE and CCA for my case involving me here to come to Tashkent. So it was a great opportunity. My name is Iko Yokoyama. I'm the lead curator, design, architecture at Tempras Museum in Hong Kong. So today we're talking about reviving local artisanship while remaining global. So it's a broad topic, but I think you are three of you very deeply involved in that. So to want to kind of ask questions individually, but generally how we can community protect and promote a local artisanship while adapting to demand of contemporary market. So it is about the kind of relationship, how we balance between the market, the very instantly we are surrounded by global chains and a mass-produced object, and how we value how crafts can be the vital resource for our future, which will be now it's the very obvious the interest in craft, the vernacular architecture, eco-farming, and social community projects. So we want to talk about that. So before going to, I just quickly introduce everybody. So my right, Nader Debs, designer from Levante and living in Beirut. And I'm very sorry to what's happening to your city, and friends and colleagues are okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
that's really heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, but hopefully our conversation also bring a hope, I hope. And then another involved from products and furniture design, and one of the kind commission artwork across fashion, interior, and then she also brings various cultures. And then we have Nadia Samdani in the middle. From Samdani Art Foundation, so probably many of you heard about. So she's the president of foundation, but it's also the director of Dhaka Art Summit. I think it's one of the largest, the summit which bring so many audiences, which bring a culture together, curators, so global and local, you really connect that with a summit. And then we have Alicia Lakimov. So many of you here in the locals know about him. He's a master ceramist with a family for 230 years of history. I was very lucky to visit the studio last night. Amazing, and then also how kind of, keep tradition alive through the family to family, but every masters make their own voices. I would like to hear about that. So maybe I should start with a question to Nada first. So your design work, it's from furniture to home decor, but it's always about the fuse of the various culture, bring them contemporary expression. But what is the challenge when you work with the artisan, when you try to introduce a new idea to them?
Okay, so just to give a little background, I grew up in Japan, and around me, as I grew up, there was a lot of craft. So anything that you buy, they always talk about the craft process. And so I grew up with this idea of the value of craftsmanship. And when I moved to Lebanon 25 years ago, and I would walk around looking for crafted objects, they were all things that were in the bazaar, completely unexplored, not valued. And I made it kind of my mission to elevate craft of our region to become something that is really appreciated. And saying that, I didn't realize that what I was doing was also supporting a whole community of craft that was stuck in the past. And so what I was able to do is sit with these craftsmen and listen to them, understand how they do their craft, and then slowly interpret their craft into something a little bit more contemporary because of my aesthetics, which was more related to the minimalism of Japan. So I took the more traditional work, the overly ornate objects, and I simplified it and brought things down to its essence, and then so that people can actually see the craft and appreciate it.
But then did they really, to modernizing what they used to do, did they say, ooh, this is a bit unusual, or how did you meet?
Yes, I forgot about that big part, yeah. So basically, when I suggested, I just decided that I wanted to work first with the mother of pearl craft. And I told them I would like you to just make a panel of pure squares or pure circles. And they were having a really hard time understanding. They're like, don't you want to add some flowers or some foliage? And I said, no, I really, really want to stick to just triangles and squares and circles. And it took a few times for me to actually get them to do this. But when they actually saw the finished results, they thought, okay, that's something that they can work with. And so it was really about a lot of give and take, a lot of sitting with them. And of course, there were craftsmen who were really resistant. So I actually didn't work with those people. You have to really find also the craftsmen who are really open to explore and experiment.
Yeah, that's really true. So let's talk later more together in the conversation. But then now I want to ask Nadia. So the Samdani Art Foundation, so as I said, is I think one of the world's largest, the visitors number as a biennial. It's very like international, like intellectual contemporary art. So I really wanted to know why your local audience not biased. They're so open to just come to the art biennale. Many people, they often maybe the contemporary art or they go to museum can be a little bit intimidating, but why? How you manage to do that?
Thank you. I'm from Bangladesh. I grew up there, and I think Bengali culture or if you talk about Bengal, culture is very strongly rooted in us. And if you talk about, like, for example, while growing up, everybody I knew would learn singing at home, dancing at home. It was part of the culture. So any actually cultural event that happens, we all look forward to and we go. But unfortunately in Bangladesh, we have museums, we don't have any museums dedicated to art. So when we came up with this idea, the Dhaka Art Summit is a biannual event. It's a non-commercial event. It works as a big festival. We work with multiple curators from around the world. There's lots of, of course, there's art, there's performance, there's photography, lot of talks, workshops. It's a place for thinking, meeting, and connecting with people. It's building bridges with Bangladesh to the rest of the world. People from all over the world come, and like you said, it's one of the highest visited. It is one of the highest visited art events in the world. In 9 days, we had over 500,000 visitors, which is huge. And it's a free event. It's open to the public. And everybody comes, and we don't have any VIP hours, we don't have any separate hours, so we have visitors from the head of state visit to everybody. So it's become very successful, and people really enjoy and engage in it. And of course, there's, like you see, like a lot of, when we're talking about crafts, we also, our artists really want to revive like the cinema banner paintings or the rickshaw paintings. We have a lot of rickshaws in Bangladesh. See, those were the dying art, which is slowly going, because now everybody wants cars and motorcycles and things like that. So, so artists, there's a group of artists who are specialized, like culturally or heritage. It's like, you know, from family to generation to generation. So those revive, even like pots and crafts and bamboos. So artists really want to revive these and work with these traditional fabrics, so they are turned into art.
So actually, like also with another set, you know, so you work with a craftsman who is open-minded. So when you curate, you also carefully choose the artists and the curators or the thinkers who will be open to those ideas. That's the kind of key, you think, to success.
Absolutely. And I think when we invite curators we have mostly institutional curators from around the world who come and do these shows for us. When they come to Bangladesh, they actually see and get a sense of the country and see that what they want to do. And when they invite artists, and it's like, for example, like fabrics, like we have like traditionally woven fabrics, which is very delicate, and it takes months to prepare one fabric or one piece of sari, which is our traditional cloth. So if something like that, the fabric jamdani, and if it takes, like, say, for example, one sari to take 6 months to make, so the cost is also expensive because it's very fine and it's very high-end, I would say. But if you're going to spend say, for example, $1,000 to $5,000 on a piece of garment, but if you think you're buying a piece of art, then it makes sense. So artists are also working with traditional weavers, traditional craftsmen to produce their art.
Yeah, so interesting. It's all about how to keep alive crafts and the tradition to make it a contemporary time and relevant. But it is like we're coming to the discussion, but it's again the cost and labor, because the expense of the industrial revolution and also the labor's the price. That was the kind of really key to this discussion. But before going to that, so the Alicia, talking of family, generation to generation. So of course you're the 6th generation of the ceramic, and then kind of there was a little bit of break between during the Soviet time. Your grandpa was go to the factory work, do the other product design at home, doing the pottery to keep alive, and then also doing the kind of historical survey on the scientific history of the Uzbekistan ceramic. But as you are, as the sixth generation, how you, is it a struggle, or how do you make it your own time, reflecting to your own ceramic?
But you know, it's like most of, actually I have to say that, first of all, if you like your job, so it's getting succeed, how to say. So I learned from my grandfather, of course. So from 4 years old, I used to live with my grandfather. He used to teach. But you know, it's most important to play with the clay. And he used to say that if you have a nice mood, please work. If you don't, please don't work, how to say. Because if you have a nice mood, it will transform to your work. If you have so, it will be recognizable from the work by itself. So that's why we're trying to enjoy by ourselves. So now we have a studio where we're working, we're teaching same place. You know, now we have a students actually age from 6 to 12 years old. You know, we consider this age its most successful age, because after 12, creation is coming down. Creativity, they're trying to lose, so it's better to keep their talents before 12 years. So that's why we're just enjoying with them, and we can't say that we're teaching because we're learning also from them, because they have really great fantasies. So sometimes we're admiring, we're trying to create as a kids, but no way we have a frame for fantasy.
Yeah, because last night you said, because you were 6 years old, no? First time, there were 4.
Yeah, from 4 years old, we have a tradition. Grandparents, they're working with the grandkids, and they're living together. Now I have 2 sons. So my father, he's teaching. They're living with my father. So what's nice, he's teaching. Maybe it's best way because, you know, it's the grandparents and grandkids, they have a closer links, so it's easier to teach. And parents and like sons, sometimes there is an argue between, but with the grandparents, never happen, how to say. So it's always successful.
So I've been coming to Uzbekistan for the last few years and working with some woodworkers. And I noticed that here you really have generations and you pass on the work to the children. In our part of the world, like in Syria, Lebanon, the young generation all want to learn computer science. No one's interested in craft.
Of course, it's happening also here, for example. So sometimes, like generations, they had the problems to stop because young generations, they don't want to continue. But, you know, I think it's a reason because sometimes they don't have a grandparents to teach. Because, you know, sometimes grandparents, they just enjoying together with the grandkids, they're playing with, and, you know, it's affect their learning. And of course, it's important if they have it from inside, they can do that. But if they don't have if they don't like by themselves, so no reason to continue. So that's why my father, he's telling. So if my grandkids, they will be better than we are, I will allow to become a potter. If not, it's better not to continue, I have to say.
I mean, definitely spark curiosity when you're the earlier age, like there's like an art summit for sure. It does to encounter this. We need, implementing. They would be interested. There's more world excitement outside of computer or AI. We definitely have to contribute that. But again, this is spark curiosity. But from there, they will remember nice memory, maybe from seeing amazing artworks. So they went to the ceramic course, but then how we bring those talents to actually maybe actually moving into this the profession. So that's also, so again, it feels a little bit the balance of this how we can create the kind of demands and then also the necessity, because it feels like the craft, it's a little bit maybe for very limited people or very smaller circulation, so they don't feel like maybe they think, oh, maybe I wouldn't succeed in this one, I maybe wouldn't survive. But how do you think we can kind of, the embrace or kind of create more the needs and the demands.
Shall I? Well, for me, I feel like it was really important that we start to create demand. And the way to do it is really to elevate that traditional craft into being a little bit more contemporary. So the way I did it is I started to apply, like, let's say, the mother of pearl inlay on resin or concrete, so on more contemporary materials. So all of a sudden, the same craft has a different vision, a different look. And hence, more people will buy, and then hence more people will order. And so in a way, it's a way of sustaining this craft. And actually, some of the children that are studying computer science, when they saw that there's a demand and the factory started, or the workshop started to become more busy, they actually are reconsidering working with their family. So it's a way of, I think we need to actually expose the world to the value of craft and then go back to the workshop.
So Nadia, have you seen any like a younger audience, maybe earlier from Dhaka Art Summit, maybe who wanted to become an artist or who wanted to be a curator or maybe become your volunteer or any of like, do you see any continuity from your young audience?
We've been hosting Dhaka Art Summit for almost about 12 years now. And since the beginning till now, huge change. So now we have, we also really focus on local schools visiting us because, as I said, that we don't have contemporary art museums because we realize that the younger generation is the future. They're going to be our next artists, their next curators, next collectors. So, of course, huge curiosity. We work with a big group of young people, like today I see here, a lot of young volunteers. Similarly, we have a lot of young volunteers who are young art students, or maybe not, just young volunteers. They want to work closely with the artists, with the projects, with curators, and they work for months to build and to put these things together. And I think this is a huge educational opportunity from them, working so closely. And yes, I think it's definitely made a huge difference. And it also gives, like for example, we also bring in really some of the best speakers in the art world. And again, because I said that this event is free and open to everybody, and it gives an opportunity for young students to hear these great art historians speak and present their papers. So it is something very positive, and there has been a lot of growth.
Yeah, because the fascination of Dhaka Art Summit, what you present is often very internationally recognized, very high caliber curators and intellects, so to say, but then make it something so like a folk, this people so is it, do you think, yeah, you said a little bit in the maybe Bengali culturally, but like, the Hong Kong, the place where I work at the moment, so we try. It's very difficult to get the young people and then either have to be super popular, oh, that seems too difficult, then they don't come. So it has been, we struggle with this modernized to competing, but it's a little bit like I'm, almost amazed and the mystery how Dhaka make it happen. But now I also see the little hints here, but it's kind of maybe also the culturally mind openness maybe to it.
I think it's also culturally, and we really focused on not making it intimidating. Like, for example, when you enter into like your big museum where you are, which is amazing, what a beautiful, I mean, it's been in works for so long. We do it in the government building, so we do it in partnership with the government. It is very close to all the universities, so automatically we get that crowd. And it's just word of mouth, and we really focus on that. Bring your children, bring your parents, bring your grandparents, and have a day out. So I think it has become like that, and there's always something for everybody to enjoy, whether it's workshops, whether it's photography, performance, talks, just wandering around.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I'm tempted. I'm tempted. When's the next one?
Yeah, it's definitely.
Sometimes it's really amazing that it's places, it's accessible to everybody. So
Absolutely, the location.
Yeah, so it makes people easy to get and to be always nearby. So it's a wonderful idea to have always with a community somehow. So today we visited the center, so it was exciting because it's inside of the mahalla, we called it. So it will be easy for the people to go in because it makes easier for everybody, I have to say.
Yeah, so we're excited. We went to the CCA's residency to see this in Mahala, how the community engage, and then will be very exciting to see. But Alicia, I wanted to ask a little bit more for the more material Islamic tradition interest, because it's also see your studio yesterday, but also so yesterday finally I see this newly came out the Tashkent Modernism book, and then hope I can see more example. But this city has a full of tiles, and the ceramics was very much embedded in the architecture as well. So can you tell a little bit about this Islamic tradition also more in the public space, or, because you do the more art studio potter, but then how is that tradition being gone, or is still?
From ancient time, of course, we have a lot of tiles, yeah? We have a lot of mosques, like the madrasas. But, if you look back to the history, like 70s, like 80s, so Soviet time, and look at the people life spaces. So the higher storied buildings, and you can see also tiles. So what's really great that on that time architects, they got inspiration from history, and they're trying to show all the best things from the past and the future life. So yes, let's see this like metro stations, for example. So it's like a palaces underground. So the ordinary people, they're passing every day and seeing this old beauty around. So it's great help, how to say.
But is it still like this tradition of using tile in architecture in modern way still continues?
It's still continuing, yeah. It's nowadays, now we have a very interesting place now. They're building Islamic Art Center. So it's like they're trying to involve all the craftsmen inside. And it's like a joint work together with artisans and architects. So I hope it will get a nice result also, because nowadays there's a lot of construction all over Uzbekistan, not just in Tashkent, there is also in Samarkand, Bukhara. And what's nice, they're trying to appreciate also old ones. So that's really helpful, because we're trying to keep what was before, and we have to create, of course, the new samples. So it was the inspiration. But sometimes it's exciting. Now I'm just looking for the history. So like we had the 15th century Timur period, we had the Samanid period, 9th century history. But now we have to think also about the 21st century. So how it will be those days, how to say. So we don't need to repeat the same ideas what was before, just to keep doing the same things. I think we have to change slightly, to give a new touch for the life. So it's also the ceramics, it's same. Now we're making a lot of experiments because it's needed. Now Nada, she made a very interesting project with a Sirajuddin, who's a wood carving master. I love how it's made. So it's like a simplicity, and sometimes, what's important to show this unique touch. So I think it's most important. So so we need such kind of projects more, because it will give a new impulse to the culture.
So what I like about the project I did, the Tapchan, so what I did is I designed this very vernacular bench that it's in gardens in Uzbekistan, and you see them everywhere, and they're usually very heavily carved. And so what I tried to do is simplify the design. And it's really nice that you actually have these objects that you use every day. And so I feel like very useful. So I'm designing something that is actually really needed in the country, but in a little bit of a contemporary way. So we struggle much more in our part of the world because there's a big shift. We actually are almost in denial of our traditional craft. And so I feel very much that I'm very responsible for really introducing craft and try to bring it into everyday objects. It's a very big challenge.
Yeah. But also, we were living in the 21st centuries. Any craft, what you have learned from your dad, what we have seen, it's already cross-culture. There's no such things. There's all our centuries we've been inspiring each other from techniques and material and, inspiring. So again, it's our mission. I have a little bit ambivalent relationship toward preservation. So because it's a preservation, it's something you stop your time and to keep it how it was, like many Japanese master does. But I think it's very important to make it our time objects and craft and then the events and then exhibition, because we will be a part of history. In 50 years, they will be looking back at us. What has been happening in Tashkent in 2024, in Dhaka, in Beirut, or in Hong Kong? So we are responsible for that to respond to. So then if we just are looking back, just be a keeper of old things, that's another thing. But we are active person in this field, so we have a very strong mission. I think I think they show the time very short, so I think maybe I open up also to the audience a question. So if anyone has a question, I can't really see. No? There's one in the front. Anyone has a mic, please?
Hello. Thank you. My question is about architecture. Like you were saying, it's important to preserve what we have. Right now, Uzbekistan is in the process of renovation, which includes actually demolition of old buildings that create charming, very, very Tashkent, like Tashkentish ambience environment in Tashkent. So, like you were saying, something like you were saying, that what you did with crafts was making it more simple. And I was thinking, do you know what I'm talking about? Those two mid-century
the modernist buildings, yeah?
Yeah. Tashkent brick houses, two-storied. They could be just streets filled with those two-storied brick houses. So, as far as I know, such type of houses are never demolished in other parts of the world. But here it's considered like old, But that's the whole principle of history, that we preserve the old if it's valuable. And my question is, if you saw an old building, what craft, how would you embellish it? So glamorize it? Or what is another? Gentrify. How would you gentrify the whole district with this old building? To preserve, like you said, the Tashkent, very specific Tashkent ambience for the next generation. Because right now, if we build the whole Tashkent with those high story buildings, that's we will lose the character, we will lose the charm, the old world charm. So it's about, can we make something plain but good into something glamorous and, like you said, everybody would want it? Thank you.
If you visit the CCA residency, you'll see that exact mix of contemporary with tradition. So you have the mahalla, you have the place where the residents will be sleeping, and then you have the workshop, which is all made in concrete. So I think if you visit the residency, it would be really an interesting mix of old and new.
I think thank you for the question. It's really also very happy to hear such question from the young audience, because you see it, you already see the beauty, you already see a charm. We are losing it. So this awareness itself, it's already a gift to your city. Someone cares, because that's otherwise, the people to make it quickly, more monetized, more efficient, but someone really care and cherish. So that's the power to really, so no, maybe we should do something else. And then already Tashkent, as another said, the CCA, was a beautiful renovation of the old school and the reuse of the material, and then also reviving crafts. And then also now they will bring the international artists, the writers, musicians, chef, very open way to connect. Because they said the artisans in Tashkent, and then also there was Aga Khan Foundation doing the pilot project for the restore the old mosque. So there is a skill is here. There is a craftsmanship, and there is a people can keep this to modernize it, but they are unaware. They actually carry the skill. So there's activation is really needed to bring out their skill before it's gone. So I think it's very much there is a possibility, and the whole world is now coming to the more ecological thinking, and then to the more vernacular architecture, going back to the natural resources and material. And then Nadia, so you also, next year, right, that your museum, so maybe you can also respond to her, but also that's probably, it's a new build, but you're going to this.
Yes, we are in the process of building a sculpture park and an art center in the northeastern part of Bangladesh, where we will have, it will house some of our permanent collection, and it will be a residency space and a sculptural park. So it's in the process. We're still in construction, so.
Yeah, so I think it's making a place to engage these people who cares. And then, yeah, Tashkent is my only 2 days. It's amazing. It's already very impressed. But
may I just answer the question, because there is, of course, we had several regions. It was destroyed, of course, yeah. So we had some places which before it was more attractive. Now it's losing the charm by itself. But now I think it's more public. They're more active now. So they have to say their words. So what they want and not want. But now I think it's like by a governmental way, it's getting another kind of approach to protect these monuments. So for that, so we have to understand also by ourselves what we need. For example, like an area called the Hastimam, now it's a complex. They're going to live like that, so as it was before, and not to make changes from outside. And people who want to change, they can change just from the inside of the rooms. So to make facilities from inside, but outside to keep it as it was before. But I hope this project will continue and continue to keep the beauty of the Tashkent.
Yeah, and then you have a wonderful hosting this event, this development foundation. They are interested in that exactly about this. But it's again also it's like a governmental level, bigger, boss have to value those values for the local vernaculars. That's also, it have to coexist like the formal and informal force. That's make a city very vital, I think.
Top down and ground up. Yeah.
So it have to be coexistence, or not only the top and down. So this dynamic could happen from bottom up and top down. Okay, I think our unfortunate time is up, but thank you so much for wonderful speakers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Miss Nadia Samdani, Miss Nada Daps, Miss Iko Yokoyama, and Mr. Alisher Rakimov. We express our gratitude for being with us and sharing your experience and ideas. Thank you a lot. Hurmatli xonimlar va janoblar, barchangizdan o'z o'rningizni egallashingizni so'raymiz. Dear ladies and gentlemen, we kindly request you to take your seats. Aziz tinglovchilar, konferensiyamiz davom etadi. Navbatdagi muhokama mavzusi Markaziy Osiyoning dizayn kodi. Dear participants, dear listeners, we continue our panel discussions, and now it's time to announce the next session named Central Asia's Design Code. And the speakers are Aziza Azim, Creative Director, Aziland Founder, Azi Studio; Ulug'bek Xolmurodov, Architect, Founder of Xolmurodov Gallery, Xolmurodov Architects, and Xolmurodov Design; Ayjan Firsova, Designer, Katadash Brand; Baurjan Shadebekov, CEO, Visa Fashion Week in Almaty and Tashkent. And the moderator is Oleg Drobet, CEO, Al Uzbekistan. Please welcome.
Ассаламу алейкум, дорогие друзья, хуш-келепсис. Мы приветствуем вас на очень интересной, увлекательной дискуссии. И welcome all of you, добро пожаловать. Я уверен, что вам очень понравятся наши спикеры, те темы, которые мы сегодня будем обсуждать. Структура панели такая, что я сейчас коротко представлю тему, представлю каждого спикера. Мы обязательно поднимем очень интересные вопросы, и попрошу вас тоже подумать над тем, какие вопросы у вас возникнут в рамках дискуссии, потому что по завершению хотелось бы пару вопросов из зала нашим спикерам задать. Мы начинаем. Наша панельная дискуссия посвящена очень интересной теме – дизайн-код Центральной Азии. И я думаю, что не случайно мы сейчас с вами общаемся на самом большом ковре, который я видел в своей жизни. Вот этот потрясающий ковер огромных размеров. И, если честно, меня, я думаю, вас тоже переполняют эмоции. Кажется, что мы находимся сегодня в эпицентре развития креативных индустрий в Ташкенте. И хочется начать наш контакт с того, что давайте поаплодируем организаторам, обменяемся энергиями за то, что конференция проходит на самом высоком уровне. Итак, дизайн-код Центральной Азии. Что такое вообще дизайн-код? Мы поговорим сегодня об этом. Дизайн-код — это про архитектуру, это про моду, это про искусство или про все вместе одновременно. С чего он начинается? Почему он формируется только сейчас? Почему эта тема актуальна? Является ли это преимуществом для региона, для отдельно взятых стран Центральной Азии, которые, по сути, могут стать трендсеттерами мировой повестки? И какую роль в этом вопросе играют молодые таланты? Сегодня мы поговорим с нашими уникальными amazing спикерами. Я такими вас вижу, и сейчас я представлю каждого. С нами сегодня Бауржан Шадебеков, прилетел из Казахстана, поприветствуем его. Основатель виза Алматы Fashion Week, основатель виза Ташкент Fashion Week и еще много других проектов, среди которых я хотел бы выделить Next Designer Award, Empowered by Visa. Это все проекты, которые развивают молодые таланты, которые дают дорогу молодым и, конечно же, прямо относятся к теме нашего сегодняшнего обсуждения. С нами сегодня Азиза Азим, поприветствуйте ее. Креативный директор Aziland, основатель проекта Azi Studio и основатель, единый вдохновитель очень важного, как по мне, проекта для Ташкента Concept Store Муна. Я надеюсь, мы сегодня об этом поговорим. С нами сегодня Улугбек Хальмурадов. Поприветствуем Улугбека. Человек, который развивается, наверное, во всех направлениях, связанных с темой нашей сегодняшней дискуссии. Это и архитектурное направление. Улугбек является основателем таких проектов, как Хальмурадов Gallery, Хальмурадов Architects, Хальмурадов Design. Я уверен, что сегодня мы получим максимально широкий спектр информации по поводу дизайн-кода. И с нами сегодня Айджан Фирсова. Поприветствуем ее. Прилетела из Кыргызстана для того, чтобы поделиться своим взглядом на инновации, на развитие независимых дизайнеров и на то, как в принципе пробиваться из страны Центральной Азии со своим продуктом в мир. Мы перейдем к вопросам. Я хотел бы начать нашу дискуссию с Бауджан, с вас, потому что, по сути, когда мы говорим про тренд-сеттинг, про то, как мы задаем тренды, как развивается регион, то, конечно же, проекты, которые вы двигаете уже 10 лет, ваш проект в Казахстане, 3-й год в Узбекистане, вы открываете дорогу молодым, и хочется спросить, какие тенденции вы наблюдаете сегодня в развитии моды Центральной Азии за последние годы, и как местные дизайнеры интегрируются в мировую повестку?
Всем добрый день, спасибо за вопрос. Дизайнеры Центральной Азии на самом деле уникальные, потому что они внедряют национальную идентику в современные тенденции, и это выглядит супер современно, да, как они внедряют искусственно там и в коллекции, и молодые сейчас дизайнеры тоже внедряют там в коллекции Сюзанне и Кат, и это очень... Есть спрос, на самом деле, когда там тоже к нам приезжают международные журналисты, СМИ, у них есть такое большое колоссальное удивление и интерес, поэтому я думаю, что эта тенденция очень усиливается и крепчает с каждым годом.
Потрясающе. Скажите, как вы наблюдаете сегодня смешение стилей, как вы наблюдаете сегодня... Нельзя сказать это столкновением, но на самом деле вокруг дизайн-кода региона есть два основных направления. Да? Это упор на традиции национальной техники и это уход в современность. Сегодня каждый из спикеров сможет об этом сказать. Вот как вы наблюдаете сегодня этот баланс, как он выражается?
Я думаю, что если смотреть через призму нашего проекта, да, там Visa Fashion Week Ташкент, то дизайнеры, да, как я сказал до этого, что они внедряют, да, в коллекции сейчас, и даже вот молодежь, которая посещает Visa Fashion Week, стрит-стайл, да, мы сейчас можем увидеть на презентации, попозже я вам покажу, что они внедряют искусственно национальную идентику, и да, мысль потерял, но да, что...
Нормально.
Главное,
главное, что, по сути, когда мы говорим про дизайн-код Центральной Азии, согласитесь, этот вопрос, как я уже говорил сегодня, он почему-то актуален. Он актуален в силу исторических событий. Мы сегодня не поднимаем вопрос, допустим, о дизайн-коде Великобритании. Он сформировался несколько столетий назад и уверенно сформировался. Поэтому я считаю, что у региона есть огромные возможности в этом. И посмотрим, куда это всех приведет.
Я думаю, что традиции вот сочетаются, да, как я сказал, с современными тенденциями, и это есть, наверное, уникальность дизайн-кода Центральной Азии.
Супер. Поделитесь немножко информацией про ваши проекты, которые развивают регион.
Да, здравствуйте еще раз. Меня зовут Бауджан Шадибеков. Я являюсь генеральным директором Visa Fashion Week Алматы, Visa Fashion Week Ташкент и также основатель конкурса молодых дизайнеров Next Designer Awards. Проект Visa Fashion Week стартовал в 2019 году. В 2018 году это первая международная неделя моды в Центральной Азии. И основная цель Visa Fashion Week – это создание и функционирование профессиональной площадки для образования и продвижения дизайнеров и креативных инициатив. Сразу скажу о миссии Visa Fashion Week Алматы, Visa Fashion Week Ташкент – это развитие модной индустрии Центральной Азии через продвижение дизайнеров на международном уровне. После 7 успешных сезонов, которые мы провели в Visa Fashion Week Алматы, в 2023 году проект вышел принципиально на новый уровень. Мы запустили Visa Fashion Week в Ташкенте. Он стартовал в 2023 году, 23-25 мая. И после этого мы работаем в 2 мегаполисах, это Алматы и Ташкент. Ташкент, где почтение традиций сочетается с современными тенденциями, где ценят культуру, историю. На самом деле идеальная площадка для такого международного проекта, как Visa Fashion Week Ташкент. Так,
Предвещая вопрос от Айджан, а когда Fashion Week придет в Кыргызстан?
Я думаю, что, дай бог, будет. Мы планируем, поэтому да.
Она очень на это надеется.
Да. Так как мы находимся с вами на конференции креативных индустрий, я хочу, чтобы вы посмотрели Visa Fashion Week в цифрах. На следующем слайде вы можете посмотреть, какой род деятельности, какой диапазон возраста, какой уровень дохода и род деятельности, кто посещает Visa Fashion Week, как бы наши. В следующем слайде вы можете посмотреть, сколько было охватов СМИ, 9 прошедших сезонов Visa Fashion Week в Алмате и 3 прошедших сезона в Ташкенте. Это более 10 миллионов охватов СМИ, 200 аккредитованных международных СМИ. Поэтому что такой мы делаем международный проект в Центральной Азии. Мы очень особое внимание уделяем к нашим приглашенным гостям. Мы каждый сезон приглашаем фэшн-блогеров, стилистов, байеров, таких топовых изданий, как Business of Fashion, WWD, Elle, Harper's, Vogue Runway. В том году, в ноябре, в Ташкенте был такой известный кинокритик, фэшн-блогер, как очень классный, крутой блогер, да, как бы мы все ее знаем, Даян Перне. В Алмате был японский художник, отец стритвер Хироши Фудживара, поэтому мы уделяем особое внимание нашим приглашенным гостям. Да, вы можете на слайде посмотреть, какие гости у нас были, фэшн-редакторы и Vogue China, и фотографы, и так далее, и так далее. В следующем слайде вы можете посмотреть дизайнеров, участников Visa Fashion Week. Да, Айжан, участник Visa Fashion Week, да, вот Сакен тоже сидит, поэтому да. Очень обширные, да, у нас дизайнеры из Казахстана, с Узбекистана, с Украины, из Грузии, с Таджикистана, у нас даже был дизайнер с Марокко, с Италии, поэтому, да, у нас вот такой участник, которым мы гордимся.
Бауджан, можно, воспользуясь как раз случаем, местом в дискуссии? То, что делает ваша команда, сложно недооценить. Вы даете платформу, площадку для молодых талантов региона, чтобы они могли реализоваться, и чтобы их мог увидеть мир. То, что мы видели, вы приглашаете мировые СМИ, вы делаете инфраструктуру. Можете поделиться с нами каким-то самым душецепляющим кейсом, когда кто-то из стран, представленных на ваших проектах, добился высот? Его увидел мир, его заметили, и он строит карьеру сейчас.
Да, у нас был молодой дизайнер Асель Шингысова, который, кстати, выиграла конкурс молодых дизайнеров. Это был финалист. У нее коллекция 100% апсайклинг, она, получается, у нее все ткани переработаны, и, получается, она посвятила свою коллекцию экологическим проблемам Казахстана. Это озеро Балхаш, озеро. И после того, как она выиграла конкурс, она представилась на Visa Fashion Week Алматы, и стилист с Dover Street Market ее заметил, и она сейчас готовит коллекцию для Dover Street Market Япония. Поэтому я думаю, что это такой колоссальный, крутой момент, да, для молодого дизайнера, который бренду буквально, наверное, 1,5 года. Но вот Dover Street Market зацепила, что она полностью работает с переработанными материалами, и то, что она затронула такую экологическую проблему. Но на самом деле, да, сейчас экологические проблемы — это как бы глобал по всему миру. Поэтому, да, вот такой у нас есть дизайнер, который добилась очень больших высот за 1,5 года. Ну, как бы это тоже наш финалист конкурса.
Впереди десятки. Уверен, что каждый, кто касается платформы сегодня с точки зрения развития и креативной экономики, в общем, получает буст от ваших проектов. Спасибо большое вам за ответ и за то, что вы делаете. Я хотел бы в дискуссии перейти к вам, да, Азиза Азим. Представлю еще раз, основатель собственного бренда Aziland. И для меня с точки зрения дискуссии было бы важнее и хотелось бы подсветить ваш проект, с которым я познакомился одним из первых, когда как иностранец прилетел в Узбекистан. Это концепт-стор Муна. Я думаю, что многие из присутствующих в зале знают ваш проект. Кто не знает, я очень советую, рекомендую посетить. И вопрос в чем? То, что я увидел там. Я шел, по сути, в концептуальный магазин, где можно купить вещи. Это проявление фэшена. Я увидел там определенную подборку дизайнеров. Но самое главное, что я увидел там переплетение смыслов в архитектуре, в искусстве, в дизайне интерьера, в мебели, которые делают локальные производители по вашему заказу, по вашим эскизам, в ваших студиях. И все это говорит о том, что там рождается свое видение дизайн-кода. И мне интересно задать вам вопрос как создателю, что вы вкладывали в этот концепт и как вы себе представляли взгляд мира, иностранцев на Узбекистан через ваш Муна концепт-стор?
Я в первую очередь хотела бы подметить, что то, что мне бы хотелось передать, это как раз-таки самобытность народа и сохранить самое ценное, самое прекрасное. Это как раз-таки ремесло, традиции древнего современного Узбекистана. И мне хотелось это осовременить с помощью некоторых материалов, например, как стекло, которое мы использовали в больших пропорциях, и сохранить ручную работу. Вот. Исходя из своего опыта путешествия по всему миру, есть каким-то вещам, к которым мы привыкли, например, вкусное кофе. И хотелось бы создать возможность для того, чтобы можно было выпить хорошее кофе в прекрасном пространстве, в котором тебе спокойно, хорошо и прекрасно. Вот.
Классно. Есть ли у вас презентация, да? Мы можем ее включить. Если можно, выведем презентацию Азиза на экран, чтобы можно было чуть-чуть... Да, кликер.
Да, я бы, наверное, начала с того, как я создала сначала, как мой путь начался с Узбекистана, и в первую очередь это было создание бренда. Когда-то, после окончания университета и опыта работы в модной индустрии, мне было уже интересно познать свои корни. И мы объединились с командой. Кстати, команда была интернациональная, креативный директор из Украины, фотограф из Лондона, видеограф из Турции и, конечно же, местный кастинг-директор и продюсер. То есть важно было создать команду, которая действительно объединяет нас всех. И мы поехали в путешествие по Узбекистану, чтобы изучить портрет современной женщины Узбекистана. И мы изучали это, исходя из... Ну вот сейчас расскажу дальше. Это вот, наверное, это наш логбук. Да, кстати, прошу прощения. Так. Да. То есть мы снимали наш логбук через путешествие, знакомясь с женщинами Узбекистана. И часть нашего кастинга была женщина Бернара Кариева, которая является прима-балериной советского и современного времени. И нам посчастливилось ее снять, и эта женщина была настолько прекрасна, и нас это, конечно, очень впечатлило, потому что задача была снять женщин разных возрастов, разных, скажем, национальностей. И таким образом мы изучали женщину Узбекистана. И в этом проекте нам посчастливилось даже снять сестер, что тоже является большим значением в моей жизни. И этому мы впечатлили, исходя из нашего путешествия. Да, в ту сторону. Так, дальше уже про концепт Store Moon. Это проект, который тоже про сохранение, наверное, ценностей, которые передавались нам через поколения от наших предков. И вдохновение главным было минареты, потому что там ты чувствуешь возвышенное чувство спокойного и прекрасного. И мы пытались сохранить эти же материалы и использовать его в пространстве. Вот. Моно — это концепт-стор, в котором собраны дизайнеры, мировые дизайнеры, но само пространство базируется в Ташкенте. Вот. То есть хотелось познакомить местных с мировыми дизайнерами, а местным, то есть приезжим, познакомить с прелестью нашего пространства. Вот. Так. И здесь вы вот видите, что у нас есть и кофейня.
Азиза, так формируется дизайн-код Центральной Азии, по вашему мнению, правильно? Посмотрите, да? Это и про архитектуру, и про искусство. Как мне показалось, это не про, это не про бизнес в первую очередь. То есть это возможность повлиять на то, в какую сторону пойдет дизайн, да, код.
Да, мне хотелось показать самое прекрасное, потому что путешествуя, ты часто видишь то, что уже достаточно понятно. Либо это какие-то современные формы, современные какие-то тренды. А мне показалось, что самое прекрасное — это уже то, что уже является самым таким значимым. То есть это минарет, это мечеть. И это было, наверное, главным вдохновением вокруг построения вообще пространства. И в то же время мы просто добавили современные какие-то техники, что есть там кофейня, и также еще одно пространство, в котором мы хотели создавать мастер-классы. Почему? Потому что через мастер-классы мы можем объединяться, мы можем учиться ремеслу, мы можем через это передавать наши знания, учиться у друг друга, что я считаю самым важным.
Кажется, что и это и есть преимуществом Центральной Азии, Узбекистана, Казахстана, Кыргызстана и других стран, что сейчас через такие независимые проекты идет смелое, параллельное формирование так называемого дизайн-кода, который мы обсуждаем. Спасибо вам большое за концепт, за ответ на вопросы, за презентацию. Я хотел бы перейти к другому взгляду на вещи. У каждого таланта, у каждого креатора здесь свой вклад в развитие дизайн-кода. И Улугбек, следующий вопрос будет к вам. Мы успели коротко поговорить с вами перед дискуссией, и вы мне представились как архитектор, который ко всему подходит как художник. Меня это зацепило, хотел бы вас также еще раз презентовать, потому что самая известная информация о вас, как мне кажется, как человеку, который не так давно с вами знаком, вы проявлены через архитектуру, через ваш проект, через вашу компанию Хальмурадов Architects, но также вы развиваетесь и развивались как ювелир, вы развиваетесь в искусстве, вы нам обязательно расскажете об этом, но работая во всех этих направлениях, хочется вам задать вопрос, а что и есть дизайн-код, что он из себя представляет, а с чего он начинается? Он начинается с искусства, начинается с архитектуры, он заканчивается фэшн или наоборот? Этот вопрос я хотел бы вам адресовать.
Спасибо. Добрый день еще раз. Спасибо. Вопрос, конечно, неоднозначный, что есть узбекский дизайн-код, потому что если брать в основе, это, конечно, скорее очень глубокое должно быть искусствоведческое исследование. На мой взгляд, в узбекском современном искусстве самое оригинальное — это бишик, тюбетейка и сюзанне, вышивка. Это, наверное, самое аутентичное, да, самое оригинальное, самое аутентичное. Очень много, потому что было заимствований, как та же голубая керамика, как архитектура, какие-то другие достижения, поэтому майолика архитектуры. Поэтому тут надо как бы знать немножко историю, надо знать немного истории искусства, и тогда уже претендовать на правильное мнение вообще, что есть основа для дизайн-кода как таковая. Вот, поэтому другое дело, как он развивается. И здесь уже, конечно, очень сильно влияет экономика. И когда экономика со слабым ВВП, тогда развивается больше кич. Да, и мы через эту эпоху уже прошли, когда люди пытались, бедные люди максимально пытаются показать, что они богаты. Это очень сложно вообще выглядит, или, скажем так, очень плохо выглядит. И все 15 союзных республик в свое время через это прошли. В России это были 90-е, в Украине это были тоже начало 90-х, в Казахстане это были конец 90-х, начало, наверное, нулевых и десятых годов. Постепенно это все прошло. Мы сейчас выходим из этой стадии. И, на мой взгляд, развитие дизайн-кода, оно невероятно тесно связано все-таки с развитием экономики. Выше ВВП, лучше дизайн-код. Здесь все очень однозначно взаимосвязано. То есть выше насмотренность, больше доходов, соответственно, это так или иначе выражается во вложениях, в личный комфорт, непосредственно в городскую среду, в архитектуру. Она становится более долгосрочной, она становится еще более функциональной и удобной для своего конечного потребителя. То есть они задумываются гораздо заранее, чем вообще начинает ее чертить проектировщик. Вот, на мой взгляд, это самые важные составляющие дизайн-кода как такового. А если говорить с точки зрения искусствоведа или исследователя, то, наверное, он развивался, он развивается, и в правильном виде он будет развиваться всегда. То есть плохо, когда он не развивается. Потому что, опять же, стагнация, которую мы, я надеюсь, прошли, она на самом деле дает только эффект поверхностного декорирования. Да? То есть, я надеюсь, я сейчас достаточно как бы прозрачно говорю, все понятно. То есть, опять-таки, когда вместо дизайн-кода мы видим сплошные узоры, то на самом деле это все-таки стагнация, это не есть развитие, да? Или повторение на определенном китчевом уровне разных элементов, пусть это будет архитектура или сюзанне, или неважно, или тюбетейка, и вот повторение элементов одна и та же. Но это стагнация на самом деле, это не есть развитие. Если ты изобразил еще раз то, что было до тебя, это даже не есть творчество. Как бы искусно ты и эклектично это не переплетал, это все равно сидеть и плести одну и ту же косичку.
Лукбек, в вашей команде принадлежат слова, что вы выступаете, я говорю сейчас про Лукбек, я прошу прощения, про Хальмурадов Architects, что вы выступаете за развитие искусств, ремесел Узбекистана, но при этом создавая аутентичный дизайн, без слепого, бездумного копирования национальных форм и узоров. Этот тезис вы только что раскрыли. Вопрос, да, какой путь, какую эволюцию вы видите или предлагаете для ремесленников, которые, в принципе, зациклены, да, в создании, все-таки использования каких-то традиционных техник? Как вы видите эту эволюцию?
Я скажу простыми примерами, которые, опять-таки, есть вначале на территории СНГ. Ну, мы знаем прекрасно, как прошли этот путь все, кто исследует так или иначе дизайн и все, что с ним связано, архитектуру, скажем так, область проектирования. Мы видим, какой путь прошли, например, дизайнеры Украины, Грузии, Казахстана, России. Это вот 4 страны, которые пока ушли вперед нас. Соответственно, мы волей-неволей это повторим, никуда не денемся. Если смотреть вовне, ну, это путь Японии в 60-е, 70-е, потом затем Южной Кореи, которая совершила рывок в 70-е и 80-е годы, и затем Китай, который совершил рывок в 90-е и нулевые. Да? То есть это и промышленный, соответственно, и экономический, и, соответственно, архитектурно-проектный. Да? Дизайн входит туда же. Понятно, что мы совершим, скорее всего, такой же путь. То есть сейчас туда подтягиваются и Филиппины, и Малайзия, и Индонезия даже, и Вьетнам. Ну и мы совершим точно такой же путь, скорее всего. Но все зависит от экономики. Это не зависит только лишь от одной или двух голов. Это зависит от совокупности факторов. Поэтому, на мой взгляд, вот возвращаясь опять-таки к сути вопроса, все произойдет так же. И мы будем развиваться именно исходя вот из каких-то совершенно нормальных, естественных канонов, которые есть везде. А вот насколько мы это сделаем оригинальным, зависит уже от внутренней школы и от внутренних мозгов.
Ну, отличие нас ждет. Я это прекрасно чувствую, сидя на этом взлетающем волшебном ковре, куда-то мы все летим, да. И да, есть предвкушение, конечно, рывка, он уже идет. Хочется здесь как раз поднимать тему дизайн-кода, сохранить уникально. Есть возможность сегодня сделать это иначе, да, и стать на острием мировой повестки. Честно, есть ощущение, что это произойдет. Вы не против? Мы перейдем тогда к Кайджан. Спасибо вам большое за ваши ответы. Если честно, каждый из спикеров приготовил очень много информации. Улугбек приготовил прекрасную презентацию про галерею, но мы так увлеклись вопросом архитектуры, что, надеюсь, в следующий раз обязательно его посмотрим. Я хотел бы перейти, Кайджан, к вам. Вы прилетели из Кыргызстана. Для нас вы инновационный, современный дизайнер, который также ищет свой путь в мир, который ищет возможности реализоваться, который ждет, Борджан, виза Кыргызстан, Бишкек Fashion Week. Да, и надеюсь, что он скоро произойдет. Изучая ваш бренд Катедаш, дизайнером которого вы являетесь, лично меня зацепила очень одна отличительная особенность. Вы базируетесь на коллаборациях. Вы считаете это движущей силой и как раз возможностью реализоваться на мировой повестке, выйти в мир. Можете раскрыть через свой бренд вот эту отличительную особенность и как сегодня коллаборация помогает молодым талантам объединяться, добиваться своих целей?
Да, спасибо за вопрос. Чуть позже отвечу. Можно сейчас расскажу немножко вообще про наш бренд. В первую очередь хотела поблагодарить организаторов за то, что пригласили. Я в первый раз в Ташкенте, первый раз в Узбекистане. Очень красивый большой город. Ну и про Катедеш. Многие спрашивают вообще, что это значит. Катедеш — это английская идиома, которая значит «be brave and style». И вы можете найти нас в Инстаграм, мы будем очень рады новым друзьям. Бренд мы создали вместе с моей сестрой Сайкал, она тоже здесь сегодня присутствует. И это у нас такое свое семейное дело, потому что помимо нас двоих еще есть наш папа скульптор, и он помогает нам в наших выставках, которые мы проводим раз в 2 года. Наша концепция Катедеш основывается на 3 элементах. В первую очередь это связь моды и искусства, это экология и, конечно же, это преобразование этнического кода и ее современная интерпретация. Отличительной чертой нашего бренда является то, что мы проводим выставки. Выставки, которые затрагивают важные экологические проблемы, которые существуют в мире. Также выставки, через которые мы можем рассказать, показать наши традиции и обычаи. К примеру, у нас была выставка также и в Алматы, в Эссентай Gallery. Ну и, собственно, на ваш вопрос про коллаборации. Я думаю, да, это является неотъемлемой частью Катедеш, это коллаборации. Мы совместно с художниками, иллюстраторами и фотографами, как с Центральной Азии, так и из других стран, создаем вместе принты, иллюстрации, которые впоследствии наносим на одежду. Через принты мы можем рассказать, показать, что нашу отличительную сторону, нашу историю. И, к примеру, вот с правой стороны вы можете увидеть, это наша коллаборация с узбекским графическим художником Ильёром Нематовым. Знаете, очень талантливый. И здесь он изобразил алайских женщин. К примеру, вы можете увидеть на мне вот сегодня это кимоно. Как раз-таки на него мы нанесли его работы. Помимо коллаборации с художниками, секунду. Помимо коллаборации с художниками и иллюстраторами, мы также коллаборируемся с другими нишами. Это для нас возможность попробовать себя в новой сфере. К примеру, у нас в этом году были коллаборации со спортивным брендом одежды, с брендом ювелирных изделий. И это обмен опытом, это обмен знаниями. И даже в течение этих 2 дней на форуме мы познакомились с ремесленниками из Индонезии, которые предложили тоже создать что-то вместе. И планируем также коллаборацию с дизайнером из Узбекистана. Это классная возможность для пополнения своих знаний и для того, чтобы поделиться тем, что ты умеешь. И сейчас я бы хотела показать вам видео. Как раз-таки это видео, которое мы показывали на Алматы Visa Fashion Week в прошлом году. И это видео мы снимали совместно с творческими ребятами из Казахстана. Тоже коллаборация. Вот. Можно будет видео, пожалуйста? Спасибо.
Мы взлетаем, да? Спасибо, что вы здесь, спасибо, что вы поднимаете тему коллабораций. Кажется, что без сотрудничества сегодня креативная экономика в мире не развивается. Более того, как кажется многим, это тренд, и уже, кстати, не восходящий, потому что всем уже давно понятно, что сила-то коллаборация, конечно. Да. И можно не ждать поддержки от кого-то, от чего-то, можно просто обратиться друг к другу и вырасти за счет каждого и достичь общих целей. Спасибо вам большое за выступление, за ответы. Я надеюсь, вы приготовили свои вопросы. Мы, конечно, 10 вопросов из зала не примем, но 2-3 точно. Готовьтесь, пожалуйста. А у нас фоллоуап вопрос. И мне хотелось бы наших спикеров поставить в удобное, неудобное положение, задать им вопрос про локальность, да, потому что мы много говорим про то, что нужно применять современные техники, про то, что локальности где-то много. И вот сидя на этом ковре, я хотел задать каждому из вас быстрый вопрос. В мире существует гипотеза, мы ее уже с вами обсуждали, хотелось бы поделиться с аудиторией, гипотеза о том, что весь мир будет двигаться в сторону локальности, а локальные бренды в самом ближайшем будущем смогут заменить быструю моду. Как вам такой сценарий, Азиза?
Я соглашусь с тем, что будущее – это про локальность, про ремесло, про соединение с нашим прошлым, с нашими корнями, сохранять это и передавать это в будущее. И мы все понимаем про текущие обстоятельства быстрой моды, с тенденцией вообще потребления. И считаю, что решение к этому – это и есть ремесло, и ценить и видеть самобытность разной местности, не сравнивая ее с другой, а смотреть на все глазами младенца здесь и сейчас, будто ты впервые это все видишь. Я считаю, что это и есть тот навык, который нам помогает по-настоящему видеть, слышать и быть здесь и сейчас.
Спасибо большое за ваш ответ, Айжан. Вы сейчас, сидя здесь в своем кимоно, как вы относитесь к такой тенденции? Ждете ли вы ее, надеетесь ли вы на нее? Победим ли мы базовую одежду?
Ну, я думаю, тенденция это уже давно наступила. И это было предсказуемо, так как человек сегодня все больше пытается найти свой смысл, вообще понять, кто он, для чего он. И самый такой простой способ понять свою самоидентичность – это понять свою нацию, да, свои корни, свой род, откуда ты пришел. И, к примеру, на нашем примере КТД до 2021 года у нас было только два основных направления – это искусство и это экология. И мы не были поняты большинством людей, потому что это очень такая узкая сфера. Но когда мы внедрили в КТД также ДНК именно современная интерпретация этнического кода кыргызов, мы моментально стали популярными, получили, ну, у нас и продажи увеличились. И так получилось, что сегодня здесь Азиза. Это именно Азиза тогда порекомендовала нам, говорит: Айджана, если вы хотите выйти на мировой уровень, то внедряйте именно этнический код кыргызов. Таким образом вы, да, привлечете себе больше людей. Вот спасибо большое за этот совет.
Вот вам сила коллаборации, да?
Да.
Да, Улугбек, как вы думаете, ждет ли нас такое будущее? И если ждет, то не кажется ли вам, что Узбекистан и страны Центральной Азии находятся в выгодной позиции, они готовы к локальности?
Ну да, однозначно так. И более того, я думаю, здесь локальность всегда была. То есть мы всегда жили в такой определенной субкультуре, даже в эпоху советского прошлого. Все равно в такой субкультуре. Еще более субкультуре живет, например, Туркменистан постоянно. И я думаю, вообще Восток про это. Какие бы тенденции ни входили и не проходили насквозь, Восток, он очень аутентичен. И он всегда связывает одно с другим, то есть он миксует, грубо говоря. Поэтому, я думаю, локализация здесь будет всегда. То есть традиции на Востоке, они невымываемы буквально.
Спасибо, готовы, да? Бауыржан, интересный вопрос. Вы, работая с такими большими собственными площадками, пропускаете через себя очень большое количество молодых талантов. Как вы наблюдаете тенденцию в сторону локализации в коллекциях, да, в подходах? Наблюдаете ли вы ее последний год?
Да, я, знаете, думаю, что вот в нашем регионе появился запрос на возрождение духовных и культурных ценностей. Несмотря на там искусственный интеллект, AI, я думаю, что у нас сейчас тренд сохранять свои корни, да. И да, мы там идем впереди мировых трендов, но в нашем регионе вот сохраняет региональную идентичность. Я думаю, что это и есть прелесть, да, там, наших локальных дизайнеров Центральной Азии, ну и вообще культуры Центральной Азии. Поэтому вот так.
Спасибо большое. Ну что, есть ли вопросы в зале? Я надеюсь, что есть. И вот он, вопрос. У вас есть микрофон, да?
Раз, два. Вы все перечислили прекрасно в разной степени глубины о тренде на локальные ценности. Мы это знаем из такой и мировой антиглобальной повестки, потому что сериалы корейские на Netflix, и все ищут по локализованным всякие интересные вещи. Но у меня вопрос такой. Много ли вы встречаете каждый в своей практике, на фэшн-вике, наполнении своего бутика или же галереи новых молодых людей, которые сбалансированно могут подать свою идентичность? Потому что я встречаю очень много студентов, у которых понимание идентичности очень размыто. В частности, говоря об архитектуре, там студент современного архитектурного факультета, который говорит: мы должны прийти к новому виду архитектуры, нашему. 33 года прошло, мы видим, как Улугбек сказал, кич, но я называю декорации роскоши, да, и это было и на фэшн-виках раньше, когда просто каждый дизайнер хотел в Ханатлас любую вещь сделать и называл это идентичностью. Вот где эти сокровища молодые, которые дадут ростки в нашу будущую самоидентичность и укрепят ее, вы видите, где их можно найти? У нас же нет институтов, учащих новыми техниками. новыми техниками обучения, да, методиками, которые эту идентичность правильно прививают? Вот у меня такой большой длинный вопрос.
Спасибо за вопрос. Вы можете представиться, чем вы занимаетесь?
Это Саша Федоров.
Улугбек опередил. Александр Федоров, автор проекта «Ташкентский модернизм», про архитектуру.
Спасибо.
Спасибо.
Спасибо за ваш вопрос. Мы выделим только один вопрос из аудитории. Спасибо, он очень объемный. Я хотел бы его адресовать, с вашего позволения, тогда уже Улугбеку. Наблюдает ли он...
Не, ну мне хочется узнать, что я примерно Улугбека уловил это, да, Улугбек ответит, но, например, мы говорим же про фэшн в том числе.
Мы зададим этот вопрос каждому.
Да,
Хотелось бы
да.
начать с Улугбека.
Да.
Я попытаюсь ответить коротко. Ну, Саш, ты прекрасно знаешь мое мнение. Конечно, таких авторов в любой сфере крайне-крайне мало. Я думаю, что задача института дать грамоту, но ни в коем случае не поставить руку. Это делает сам автор. Поэтому это и называется «Путь художника». Я думаю, что здесь надо руководствоваться одним очень простым правилом. Хороший художник исследует, плохой рисует. И это можно применить к любому повару, таксисту, я не знаю, бизнесмену, куда угодно, астроному там, и так далее. То есть хороший всегда исследует. Плохой он просто выполняет определенную функцию, техническую, которая не творческая. Поэтому, что вот если отвечать конкретно на твой вопрос, например, в нашей галерее отбор идет, ну сам знаешь как, и то есть как раз-таки туда попадают тогда, когда есть идентичность, да, у автора, и если ее нет, соответственно, мы его просто, ну, не рассматриваем, кандидатуру, даже близко. А если говорить о архитектуре, то, по идее, опять-таки, институт дает техническую базу, а вот архитектор должен сам себя родить в муках, в поту, в крови, да, в этой войне, грубо говоря, сражаясь каждый день. Потому что я вижу то же самое, когда даже взрослые, очень уже в возрасте проектировщики, то есть в любых сферах говорят, нам надо выработать национальный стиль. Не надо его вырабатывать, он вырабатывается сам. То есть это как, я не знаю, я не думаю, что, например, узбеки когда-то собрались и дружно сказали, давайте придумаем плов. Или, например, давайте сейчас придумаем резную колонну. Она родилась из технических, физических и экономических условий, да? То есть конструктивных условий. Родилась та самая знаменитая колонна Устун, которую сейчас уже копируют как только могут. Но на самом деле даже вот этот вот эффект интазиса, он дает зрительно эстетический посыл, что есть огромная нагрузка на большой высоте определенного визуального как бы объема, который как бы давит, делает ее как бы приплюснутой снизу, а потом тонкая перемычка и мощная каменная база. Это великая философия вообще проектирования.
Саша был прав.
Да, и именно это,
в профессиональную
да,
дискуссию.
и именно это, наверное, самое интересное, когда люди, не учившиеся ни в каких архитектурных институтах, задают каноны, которые действуют на века. То есть они не проходили никакой базы по композиции, по цветоведению, по искусству формы, но они пришли к этому очень философски и проработали этот момент на протяжении, я не знаю какого времени, тысячелетий или 2-3 столетий. Но сам факт, что они родили продукт. Но я не думаю, что у них были какие-то собрания, когда они говорили, давайте придумаем сейчас Устун, и давайте сделаем так, чтобы он отвечал всем современным национальным канонам. Конечно, не было такого никогда. Точно так же не придумали плов, точно так же не придумали Сюзанне или Адрас. Это вышло из технических, физических и прочих факторов. Опять-таки, совокупность фактора рождает наиболее интересный продукт. И когда он отвечает всем своим и внешним запросам, тогда он становится, наверное, аутентичным, и тогда он начинает клонироваться и клонироваться тысячекратно, там, я не знаю, и так далее.
Спасибо большое.
Ну, грубо говоря, так.
Да, Улугбек ответил за всех. Мы вышли из тайминга, вы были правы, Саша. Профессиональная дискуссия. Интересно было бы послушать. Спасибо большое за вашу поддержку. Спасибо нашим уважаемым спикерам. Они прилетели к нам из разных городов для того, чтобы поделиться с вами своим вдохновением, внести вклад в развитие креативной экономики региона. Кажется, резюмируя эту панельную дискуссию, я хотел бы сказать, я думаю, вы согласитесь со мной все, что перед нами открытая глава истории Центральной Азии, и я уверен, что она будет яркой, интересной, необычной, и точно это про будущее. Спасибо большое.
Our esteemed speakers, we deeply thank you for inspiring us through your art. O'z san'at va ijodingiz orqali barchamizga ilhom baxsh etdingiz deya olamiz. Minnatdormiz. Welcome, dear speakers. The stage is yours.
Can we start? Okay. Thank you, everyone, for staying with us and at this hour of the event. But please bear with us. I think we have another exciting panel discussion coming up on the topic of interplay in between the artificial intelligence and intellectual property. And today I have three pronoun speakers with me, who is... sorry, I just make sure I got the title right. On my left, first on my left is Mr. Sanja, head of the government, Ministry of Justice in Uzbekistan. And second on my right is Aziz Zhang, the founder of A7 Sigma. And also on the further left of me is Guillaume, thank you for correcting me again, who is the co-founder and the president of Triptych Capital. And maybe we should kickstart with, if you gentlemen could help us a little bit, a short introduction of yourself, as well as the specialized fields you are in. Because today we have all of these experts coming from different walks of the professional fields, but also the sectors. So maybe I should start with Mr. Sanja. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Although we have left few viewers and the people who are interested in intellectual property, my name is Sanja Norquato, as the moderator has already mentioned. I work for the Minister of Justice in the Intellectual Property Office. So Minister of Justice runs the unified state policy in the field of intellectual property. I myself, I am the head of the Department for Registration and Development of Intellectual Property. We mainly deal with the registration of intellectual property rights, specifically the industrial property rights. We register patents, utility models, designs, trademark, geographical indications, appellations of origins, and other objects of intellectual property, as well as the Minister of Justice deals with the enforcement of intellectual property rights. That's the very rare situation where the one registering body at the same time deals with the enforcement issues. At the same time, we draft new laws and regulations in the field of intellectual property, and also my department is responsible for analyzing and conducting feasibility studies of joining international instruments in the field of intellectual property.
Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. Thanks so much for staying over for the last hour of the event. I know it's a tough one, but we'll get through it together. Just to give a quick introduction, my name is Aziz John Azimi. I'm the founder and CEO of Zipple AI. We are an AI fintech startup that applies synthetic data to improve risk modeling for financial institutions. In addition to that, I run A7 Sigma, which is a holding company that Zipple is part of. It also includes a few other AI projects. We mostly focus on building synthetic data models to improve the performance of machine learning models in production. And my last engagement is I am the head of the AI Council for the government of Tajikistan, which is my home nation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Guillaume Terrien. I'm a partner of Triptych Capital. I'm from Montreal, Canada. My background's in finance, worked for music labels when we were selling records, and Spotify came and Napster came, and I was really intrigued by the innovation and technology led me to keep on in that journey. So I work in live entertainment, broadcasting, led me to work for Guy Laliberté family office. Guy Laliberté is the founder of Cirque du Soleil, sold Cirque du Soleil for $1.8 billion. And we were doing some direct investment for him. And at one point, we saw an opportunity to launch a venture fund, venture capital fund, dedicated to the technology within the creative industry. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm a partner there. And AI, obviously, it's one of the things we're investing in mostly with spatial computing and other type of technology.
Thank you very much, everyone. And by the way, my name is Shimmer. I work with Mohammed bin Zayed University of Artificial Intelligence. We're based in Abu Dhabi, which is the world first university specialized in AI. We're young universities, but if you ever come to visit Abu Dhabi or UAE, you're more than welcome. We will host you, happily to host you. Back to the topic. So the interplay in between AI and the IP, I personally think it's very complex and evolving issues, I would say, especially with the rapid evolution of the AI technology itself and in the entire technological landscape. But I think when we raise this question, the foremost key aspect that people would ask is in this era of AI-generated content, who actually has the ownership or authorship of the work, of the creativity? This pops up a lot, especially in the creative industries. I may invite you gentlemen to give us a thought or two, from your background, maybe starting with Sanjay.
I'm going to answer this question as a lawyer, as a specialist in the field of intellectual property, and within the legal context. You have raised a very topical issue. Who is the author? To whom belongs the first question is who is the author, and to whom belongs all the exclusive rights to the created copyrighted content. And the second question is about originality of the content which was created by AI. Because as we know, the AI generates from thousands and millions of files and randomly chooses one or two texts and makes up the copyrighted content. But the question is whether it is original, because it's still copying, still using someone else's work and to generate the whole idea. So without any offense to the gentleman on my left side, who is a specialist in the AI technologies, that in the legal sphere, this kind of questions arise, and also we've got a lot of legal issues in terms of all the laws and regulations. They closely linked to the natural person rather than any machine that creates copyrighted content or creates inventions, designs, utility models, etc. And all of the existing laws on the Republic of Uzbekistan, and the same with all other countries, the EU and US, they attach exclusive rights, authorship or ownership to intellectual property object to a natural person when it comes to, for example, take the example of copyrighted content. Because why we all the time stick to natural person? Because the first reason is that the creator has his or her own interest in getting remuneration for his or her work being used by others and users. And AI doesn't have any interest in that. whether you infringe the right of a content which was created by AI, it doesn't matter for him, because just he was tasked, he was ordered to create some sort of copyrighted content. And at the same time, the creator, the artist, they create to develop, they create to get some remuneration for which can serve as an incentive for them to create more new original copyrighted content. That's why in the legal context, that's the ownership for the time being. Maybe in the future it may change. The authorship, the ownership only belongs to the natural person. And without any doubt. And I can give an example of the national legislation of the Republic of Uzbekistan. I can cite the relevant article of the law on copyright and related rights, where it specifically says that the author is the natural person who owns all of the exclusive rights to a copyrighted content. It doesn't say any technology or machine that can generate the copyrighted content.
Thank you, Sanjan. I think that gives us a very assertive and strong beginning, at least. And we would love to hear from Azizjan as well. Yeah.
So one angle I'll add to the conversation is the angle of understanding how the actual model, the underlying model was trained. So if you look at the world of machine learning, deep learning, other types of AI models, the process is quite straightforward, right? You have some data, that data is pre-processed, it's fed into an algorithm, the algorithm has been around for decades, it can be decision tree, it can be neural network, and the final model is then deployed. So in the case of content generation, it's the same exact approach. I think what we've been seeing in the last few years is the rise of synthetic data that supplements the human-generated data that goes into model training. Now, why is that intriguing, right? Because that's what the space I'm in personally. The interesting part about synthetic data is that, number one, it is fully GAN-generated data, generative adversarial network, which is a type of a neural network, which means that synthetic data is not human-generated, right? It's computer-generated. Number two, it is usually fully privacy compliant. So synthetic data a priori is data that has no human touch in it. So if you're dealing with, for example, models that are now using their own data versus human data to train, to adapt, to deploy, then you're really running into murky problems around responsibility, ownership, claim, etc. And I can give you a real case of how we're going through it. So we've developed our own model called ZGAN, which is a synthetic data model. We're now in the process of patenting it as not a software, right? Because software is not patentable, but rather as a novel architecture for generating data. And what we see in this process is, the number one question regulators are asking us is, this is great, you guys are creating purely AI-generated data for training, but what will be the responsibility and the claim once incorrect biases are done, right? And that's a question to ponder upon, which is, we're still at a very embryonic stage of AI regulation. And there's a whole Pandora's box of questions that are being opened up when it comes to synthetic data.
Absolutely. Actually, very interesting. I would have some follow-up questions on that particular ones, as well as to Sanjan's point early on as well. But let's hear from Guillaume first.
I'll just add on, what has been said. I think, first, I think the regulation that we know right now in copyrights will change. I'm 100% about that. Because, and the two, I would say, things that will be challenged is this fair use. The definition of fair use, because fair use is about, obviously the impact on market, the purpose, the factual usage, and the amount used. So you'll have to determine the amount of influence your work has been attributed to the algorithm. So that's going to be really challenging, and I think the fair use clause will be not in danger, but that will change. And the second thing, it's public domain. So in the creator economy, what's public domain? So I think the rules and regs of ownership of even digital platforms will change, because they'll have to be more transparent on data set, not just to sell more advertising and sponsorship, but on how they're going to use it to train their own models. So there's going to be interesting debate about, I think, those two clauses.
I think when we talk about intellectual property in the artificial intelligence field, even data and machine learning modeling itself can be considered intellectual property. Therefore, I think Sanjan, you just mentioned, I think it's a very interesting, is like the existing laws and the regulations, majority, well, I'd say largely of them are human-led activities oriented. To protect the natural humans' intellectual property. However, as Zijon just pointed out, moving forward, when there's synthetic data will be more and more, the origins probably just belongs to the machines or actually the modeling itself. Where do you see like the regulations moving forward? Where will be the future landscape there?
Yes, the right honourable gentleman mentioned a very, topical issue again, and I agree with that. But at the same time, I have to mention about the main goal of creating laws and regulations in the field of intellectual property to strike the right balance between the right holders and the users. Why we are protecting, why we are enforcing intellectual property rights across countries. We've got under the WIPO system a number of international systems where we expand the protection of intellectual property rights across countries and member states. The point is, again, it relates to the human interest. The purpose of the first and foremost purpose of creating laws in the field of intellectual property is to protect human interest. Because we want the society to flourish and to prosper by creating more original works, more original designs, more original inventions and utility models that will serve to the benefit of the society that we are living in. So at the same time, these laws are designed at the very outset to protect that interest and to incentivize the creators to keep creating and to keep them what they're doing. So that's the main argument which I put forward is that all the laws and regulations, and despite the fact that they're synthetic, the networks and all of that, yes, they may use and may not, refer to the existent human, data, but at the same time, there is no interest for the AI for having those exclusive rights. In comparison to the human who is striving to have to gain more exclusive rights. At the same time, in exchange, he provides his creative work and let the society use that and make use of it. Yeah. So that's the main argument as a lawyer I can put forward.
Absolutely. That actually reminds me of Guillaume. I want to hear a little bit from you because you come from, you have some extensive background from the music industry, which I think it was amongst the very first wave of industry being hit actually by AI-generated work. And worldwide, they're independent, like creators and writers, composers, they feel threatened or they're to protect their creative work. Can you elaborate us a little bit on what is the current look like in the industry as a, I guess, example?
Yeah, I'm an optimistic guy. I think the best protection against AI is AI. So let's keep in mind that there's an estimate of $1 trillion per year of unclaimed royalties or infringement to copyrighted creative assets right now. $1 trillion. So I think there's no one or no software right now that can recognize what's unclaimed and infringed. So I think AI will be one big solution for that. So that's good for current artists and creators. So that's number one. Second, we see more new business model, like not yet in the music, but I'll get there. But Shutterstock or Adobe, they've got their own approach on licensing and attribution of royalties. And what we saw more and more with in the music industry, and that's interesting, it's protected copyrighted data sets that people can prompt, and they'll assess the royalty based on the influence. So you can ask, you open your digital audio workshop, you prompt the universal music database, and you got the loop, and Bob Dylan will get that percentage, and in Uzbekistan artists will get that percentage of the influence. So I think that's going to be interesting. I think the technology is super interesting, but what we will see more and more, it's the business models. Business models will evolve dramatically and will change, and we're not there. We're still in the exploration mode.
Fantastic. That reminds me of, I shared with Guillaume early on. In fact, when I first arrived in Tashkent today, I've been warmly received by two very lovely volunteers at the airport. They're freshmen at universities. They asked me, like, what topics are you contributing on? I was like, AI. And the instant questions, like, not even give me a blink of thinking, was like, is AI going to take my jobs? Or what type of job am I getting after my graduations? So that actually kicked me to a lot of thinking on, based on what gentlemen just shared, is there's another key concerning aspects raising a lot of concerns from the public is how do we avoid the monopoly games like in intellectual property moving forward? Because currently, honestly, in the technological landscape, tech giants are really leading and dominating the development of fundamental AI technologies and applied platforms. If we consider the data itself have ownership, if the machine learning modeling have the ownership or need to be protected as IP, then moving forward, these SMEs, small medium enterprises, or even individual creators, they still have a space or they even have a chance in the game. I would maybe ask Azizjan to start with sharing some thoughts from you.
I think that question is as philosophical as it is practical. If we look in the world of AI, so there's a very interesting school that Yann LeCun is leading, the head of AI at Meta, and one of the founding fathers of convolutional neural networks. Yann LeCun's point is we should fundamentally make all AI models open source. And that's what Meta has been doing, right? Llama fundamentally is an open source model, and every model that FAIR, the Facebook AI Research Lab, is working on has been open source. So I think that approach is a quasi-solution to the problem you posed, because it would enable us to say that, we are at least trying to push for equality to researchers from developing countries in accessing these state-of-the-art models. One point that's tangential I'll make, Shimmer, to your point is, so in my capacity as chair of the AI Council of Tajikistan, one of the main engagements I have right now is with my counterparties in Kazakhstan, in Uzbekistan, in Kyrgyzstan and Turkmenistan to create common AI principles among Central Asian states. This is an initiative that was proposed by His Excellency President Emomali Rahmon last year. And the whole point of the initiative is to say that the 5 countries of Central Asia would adopt principles of, for example, explainable models, out-of-sample validation of models, making sure that there is proper training and testing samples, but not enforce it. This is the crucial part. Why? Because in our region, what we have done, what we know how to do is over-regulate, right? This is what our countries know very well to do. For every solution, there's 3 regulators who check it. So the whole idea is we leave the market to self-regulate, but we guide the market to say, here are the principles you should be following. And that's how we'll achieve at least AI industry growth at a regional level. So let's see where it goes, but I think it's a very important first step that our president supported and proposed, and I think that you'll see something happening next year on this regard.
Fantastic. We would have a follow-up question shortly on that as well. But Sanjan, can you share with us a little bit in terms of from the regulation side, as you foresee, like how can we avoid, if not monopoly, but to promote or encourage a bit more innovation-friendly competitions in this fields moving forward?
I fully agree with what has been mentioned by the gentleman on the left side. Sorry, I forgot your name. Azizbek, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Azizbek. Azizjan, yeah. Yes, in order to, avoid the monopolies on the works that the AI technology is creating, we have to make it publicly, available. It make it publicly, public domain, because the SMEs, small and medium enterprises, cannot compete with the AI technology in terms of creating content, let it be copyrighted content, and then the amount of those works will prevail over those works which are usually created, which take, for example, months and years. For example, in terms of the translations, and the interpreters can, understand me quite well. Nowadays, we've got the technologies that can interpret consecutively without any, human interaction, and they do it. I've checked myself, and then they're doing it perfectly well. And at the same time, for example, the copyrighted content, if we attach exclusive rights to those copyrighted content for the AI technology, as you said, there is no chance for the small and medium-sized enterprises to compete with those technologies in terms of the time, in terms that takes to create a work, in terms of the amount of the works, and all of that. And for the time being, the laws and regulations, and I quite, support the idea to come up with the, principles of implementing the AI technology so that the SMEs and the human-based creators, they do not suffer from the over-protected content created by the AI technologies.
Yep. Thank you. Guillaume, you have...
Yeah. The only thing, and I feel from like a North American perspective, is if you over-regulate, you help the giant. That's for sure, because they've got resource, human capital to comply. When startups, like they can't, they don't have time and all that stuff. So I think competition, and I won't say free market, but let's be patient on passing too much regulation. I think we saw what happened in California. They were strict, but they kept some room for innovation, and I think that's one thing we have to just be careful, because if not, we're gonna just help the big tech giants to stay in place.
Absolutely. I just follow up on that. I do want to ask you, gentlemen, to share a little bit like optimistic or happy note here. Is where do you see like the opportunity is? Wherever we see there's a challenge, there are always like opportunities behind. Maybe like from the investor's perspective, or from a startup perspective, even from the public sector's perspective. Where do you see like the opportunities moving forward?
In the AI space? In creative space, for me, it's I'm passionate about. I really think, and we really think, Triptych, that the future of internet is 3D. So we're gonna go from 2D to 3D. Our brain is seeing and interpreting, thinking in 3D. So, and I'm not thinking about just VR and stuff like that. I think everything will become 3D. And thing is, creating 3D asset is really challenging. So mastering Unity or Unreal or Blender, all that stuff. So I think AI will democratize 3D and will accelerate the 3D internet revolution. So I'm super excited about that angle of AI.
I think it was Mark Andreessen who said a decade ago that software ate the world, and he edited that quote to say that now AI is eating software. So I think from that perspective, what I'm most excited about is the fact that AI is becoming nascent in any types of software you're looking at, right? Anything going from risk assessment in banks to auto-tune generation in the creative industry. So it's a wave that is inevitable, and I think that wave is something that we'll see in the coming decades. The one slightly less optimistic note I'd like to make is, there's so much hype around AI and around the fact that AI will take over the world. I think we are overestimating the danger that humans see in AI, but at the same time, we are underestimating the human resistance to AI that we'll see. Why? Because fundamentally, AI is, so to say, more rational, right? It optimizes the problem you're giving to it, while we as humans, we're not rational, right? I mean, with system 2 thinking, we're emotional, we're driven by how we see the world, and the more we'll see the perfection of AI, so to say, the more our natural hindrance of resisting it will emerge. So my biggest worry is that the biggest risk to AI is actually humans and our lack of AI adoption along the way. But let's hope that as software made us different, AI will make that process more efficient.
Sorry, I have to give a instant response on it. Every time I chat on ChatGPT and try to get some answers, the instant feelings I get is absolutely correct but boring. Can you provide me something else? But sorry, Sanjan.
You know, from the public sector perspective, I can say, yes, there are opportunities of utilizing AI technologies in terms of, for example, providing public services of registering intellectual property rights or drafting laws and regulations. For, you know, we have already started that work in the Ministry of Justice. Now we are working on and, you know, accumulating funds and, you know, all the means to implement the AI technologies in the drafting laws and regulations and making available for the public the use of, you know, AI technology for providing public services. For example, in terms of the examination of, you know, applications for the registration of inventions, utility models, you know, it takes at least 18 months for invention. I'm, you know, saying the earliest period of registration of inventions and utility models and all of that. It takes up to 2 or 3 years sometimes to learn a new technology and grant protection for that, you know, invention. But AI can make it more easier, the work of the examiner. And we are now working at the Ministry of Justice to implement the AI technologies in the examination process of the applications for the registration of intellectual property. Now we are starting to work on the implementation in the field of trademarks, because, you know, it's a very delicate work to find, you know, similar marks and brands across the world in order to make, you know, to make sure that the brand name is original one. And at the same time, we're working at the Ministry of Justice on the implementation of AI technologies in terms of drafting laws and regulations, because drafting also takes time, translations and learning and making research. So yes, from the public sector perspective, we can utilize the existent, you know, potential of the AI technologies, which saves our time, money, funds, for the benefit of the population that we are serving for. So from the public perspective, I can see that all of the ministries and, you know, the public agencies in the future, they turn to the AI technologies in terms of, you know, utilizing their, you know, everyday job and making easy and making more available for the public.
Fantastic. I think we only have about 6-7 minutes left, so I want to touch a little bit on the last aspects, which actually raised by a lot of people as well, is the nature of the AI-generated work is cross-border. It's like maybe we created an original piece here in Uzbekistan, and the next day I can add on and prompt on some new content on top of it in China, or Guillaume can do it back in Canada. So this particular nature, distinctive nature of the AI-generated work, is it going to lead towards more regional or even international collaboration? Are we moving towards a more harmonized like fields around this work? Is that a trend or the other way around? Maybe we hear from Guillaume first.
Yeah, I think it's just adding to current issues. Like in Canada, now you cannot, you know, read the news on Facebook, Google, because, you know, the government had tried to put regulation towards, you know, those big platforms so that they can give back some money through, you know, the local media. And instead of, you know, collaborating, they said, goodbye, Canada. So big tech are a bit arrogant, and Netflix did the same thing, because, you know, Canada said, okay, you know what, you should put, you know, Canadian content in front, or at least when you're opening your Netflix, and Netflix just said goodbye. So so I think, you know, AI is we're going to face the same thing. You know, the big tech are going to challenge, you know, the public institutions and governments, and we'll have to find ways to keep our culture. And I think, you know, discoverability is, you know, the big word in the digital space, but I think it's going to be even, you know, more important with AI. So to make sure, you know, we still have access and we can recognize, you know, the culture and identity of each countries.
One of the regional examples that we looked at before setting the proposal for common AI regulation in Central Asia is the EU AI Act. And I think that is one precedent that the developing countries at least should take note of. In what sense? So the EU AI Act lays out specifically what use cases of AI are prohibited. Facial recognition, things around social scoring, etc. And my perspective on it is, the more restrictions we'll lay out on AI now, the more we're going to limit the ability of startups from developing countries to emerge. Why is that the case? Because the EU AI Act, for example, has now necessary mandate where if you're doing any deployments of AI in the medical sector, you have to go through independent verification of your model training. What does that mean? That means that startups that are trying to break into this sector have to spend millions of dollars on compliance-related issues. That means that they have to raise millions of dollars in venture capital, and that means that you're essentially limiting the horizon of what companies can emerge on the field of AI in medical sector because there is stringent regulation. So I think it's a cautionary tale that at least in the developing markets, we should take the exactly diametrically opposite approach. Let us encourage AI innovation at the most remote level possible in order to open up the field for competition, and that's exactly what we're trying to do with our approach, right? So far, besides the EU AI Act, there are no regional precedents for common AI regulation, and I hope that next year you will see that Central Asia will become the first region in the world outside of the European Union where there will be liberal common AI approach that will spur our collaboration on AI. So let's cross fingers.
Fantastic. And Sanjay, maybe from the Uzbek perspective, is there any particular approach, like from the government side, or to lead or to participate in any of those regional or even global initiatives?
Yes, of course. The intellectual property sphere, there's the kind of sphere where you are in urgent need of international cooperation, and I fully support the idea raised by Aziz John that we need regional approach to the AI technology because the countries in the Central Asia, we have the similar culture, similar roots, and we have the similar awareness of the population. So yes, we would happy to join the regional initiatives that they've been raised by any country of the Central Asian states. And at the same time, you have mentioned about the cross-border regulation of AI technology, and attaching the exclusive rights to that. And from the lawyer's perspective, from the laws and regulations, I can say that the protection of intellectual property has always been territorial. The principle of territoriality never, probably will abolished. And at the same time, they were created in one soil. For example, in terms of the infringement, yes, we have the new challenges in terms of the enforcement of intellectual property rights, where the copyrighted content is being copied, infringed on the internet. There is no way out. You can identify the infringer and where, according to which regulation you're going to take some legal actions against the infringer. We have encountered a number of cases in the enforcement activities of our ministry that the more and more social networks, through the social networks, infringers are finding a way out to infringe existent intellectual property laws. And at the same time, we have got the challenge to first of all identify those infringers, second of all to locate the locations where they are infringing, and the third challenge is to to what level we can measure the damages they're causing to the right holders, exclusive rights. At the same time, maybe in the future we have to think about how to, first of all, if we are to grant protection for the technology, copyrighted content or inventions or utility models created by AI technology, to what extent we can, grant exclusive rights, and where that exclusive right will be effective within one country or within one region, and all of that. Because even in the WIPOs, in the World Intellectual Property System, for example, the trademarks and inventions, they have the territorial aspect, and you cannot claim your exclusive rights in the territory where you have not registered, at least. So this aspects put keeps challenging the legislation and puts amounts of pressure on the public sector to adapt their laws and regulations to the new trends in terms of the the AI technology. So that would be the area we need international cooperation.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And I've been given the signal of our time's almost up. So I think we have a very fruitful and insightful discussions actually amongst our panelists. Now we're moving towards the concluding this panel. I would like to invite each of you, just within 1 or 2 sentences, can give us a little bit summary, or if there's anything you think we haven't touched about, or 1 or 2 sentences or advices to those individual creators or startups who are still struggling or insisting in creating the original content moving forward, if there's any advice or words to them. Thanks.
Yeah, I think it's. I think what AI is bringing as a discussion on IP is great. As a venture capitalist, we're investing in people, but we're investing in IP, because that gives a lot of the valuation of the company. So I'm really glad we're talking more and more about copyrights and IP, because that's really a value creation vector for any startup. So that's amazing.
I'll echo Guillaume's point, because I think if we divert away noise from the signal, over 99% of AI models that are being applied in the world right now are fundamentally open source. There's not much long-term moat that you can build there. So real innovation right now in the world of AI is happening in the R&D, it's happening in the labs, it's happening in data sets that are restricted, that are not open source. So my advice, 2 cents on top of what Guillaume said, would be go for R&D and you'll find the next wave of AI there.
Great, thanks. Sanjay?
I might sound, very conventional in terms of, IP regulation and the AI technologies. So there are areas of the concern in terms of the legal regulation of AI technologies, and we have to think in the future, AI technologies and the emergence of new types of, technologies will push us to adapt our current laws and regulations in order to meet the standards of the modern time. At the same time, we have to, stick to the cornerstone of the idea of protecting intellectual property. That's the human interest. That's the, the human rights, and that's the, the economic benefits that the creators are getting, and the startups. You can invest in the technology, but you have to think about and take into consideration of the present trends, and you have to take into account the conventional approach in, for example, in each and every country that's the WIPO member states. They're all the public sector regulators have the same idea about sticking to the conventional regulation of intellectual property rights, and you have to think about that as well. But at the same time, I'm not going to talk about I'm not going to say that we are stiff and we are not going to change the laws and regulations. Yes, we have to adapt our regulations into the needs of the time. Maybe yes, we in the future will consider about changing the laws in order to meet your requirements and your needs. But at the same time, the main idea, I guess, will remain the same.
Thank you very much, all the panelists, and we would conclude this panel here. I personally think I learned so much from each of you, and I would like to express the gratitude to the organizers of WCCE as well as the government of Uzbekistan to bring us the opportunities here. Thank you.
Mr. Sanjar Narkovatov, Mr. Azizjon Azimi, Mr. Guillaume Therin, and Ms. Shimmer Dayo. Thank you for detailed discussions and giving the full understanding of the topic. Qizg'in tarzda kechgan munozara va mavzu yuzasidan berilgan to'liq ma'lumot uchun chuqur minnatdorchilik izhor etamiz. Hurmatli xonimlar va janoblar, qadrli konferensiya qatnashchilari, mamnuniyat ila izhor etamizki, kreativ iqtisodiyot bo'yicha 4-chi Butunjahon anjumanining 2-chi ish kuni o'z yakuniga yetdi. Sizlar bilan ertaga yangi suhbat munozaralarida ko'rishguncha xayr, omon bo'ling. E'tiboringiz uchun rahmat. Dear ladies and gentlemen, speakers, participants, The second day of the 4th World Conference on Creative Economy came to an end, and we would like to thank you all for your joining us and your attention.